Chapter 713. Cart after cart of coal face was sent to the designated place to be filled with water. Old Man Pai and the other two stopped performing and telling stories to the tourists. They all went over to see what Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were going to do. Are they going to use the coal pancakes? This is something I've only seen the Zhang family and Wang family tell others how to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning when they were burning Kong beds on the north side of the Yellow River. The people here don't burn Kong beds. Old Man Pai looked at the busy people and said to himself, "Let's see." Old Man Chong had only slept on a Kong bed when he came to the capital before the new year. It was hard and he wasn't used to it, but it was warm. He couldn't figure out what Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were going to do with the large amount of coal face, so he stood at a high place to watch. Once the coal face was sent to the place, the people in the inner courtyard of the Zhang family organized people to work. They didn't hide it so anyone who wanted to watch could watch. In addition to the coal face, there was also yellow mud, straw, sorghum stalks, wheat stalks and charcoal powder left over from burning charcoal at home. The iron molds that had been made long ago were moved outside and put down. Then they began to play with the clay. Someone was in charge of the clay, and someone was in charge of recording. According to different proportions, 100 clay balls mixed with various materials were made of each proportion. They were put into the molds and pressed into cylinders with many holes in the middle. After more than half an hour, more than 30 cylinders of different proportions were made. They were placed outside to dry, and there were people to watch over them. Old Man Yao pulled a maid of the Zhang family over. "Xiao Tao, what are you doing?" In reply to Old Man Yao, the young master and young lady are making honeycomb briquettes to see which proportion is good and which is cost-effective. In the future, we will specially make them for boiling water and cooking. There will be special furnaces with 1 hole, 4 holes and even 9 holes. We will arrange according to the number of people. The coal face is not valuable, and the other things are not valuable either. The honeycomb briquettes can save firewood and feed. The most important thing is that they are convenient to use and won't easily cause a big fire. The maid didn't hide anything and answered all the questions. What's the use of saving firewood? Old Man Yao still couldn't understand. Can be used to make charcoal. Charcoal has more uses, and its price is much higher than honeycomb coal. Most importantly, the more difficult the Yellow River is, the less likely it is to use coal. It is used in the north. Coal is a waste of face, and the rice straw can be used to distill wine. Even if people don't drink it, it can be used in other aspects. This time the servant girl Xiao Tao didn't speak loudly. Instead, she moved closer to Old Man Yao's ear and whispered to him. Old Man Yao Weiwei was stunned. Straw can also be distilled? Even so, you guys still have to surround this place. Now that you've all seen it, it's easy for others to learn it. Don't tell me they're talking about it from the stove? If the young master says it can be done, then it can be done. The young master said that after distilling the straw, it can be made into paper. It would be a pity to burn the good straw and other stalks to feed the cows. You don't have to keep this a secret. The stove is easy to make. You just need to take a look at it. When you get the best ratio, you can post a notice to let others know how to use coal to make honeycomb briquettes. We can use the save stocks to set up purchase and processing points in various places. Our family has never kept anything that concerns the livelihood of the people a secret. The servant girl knew quite a lot. She answered another question from Old Man Yao. The 3 old men chose to believe her last sentence. If it was said that it wasn't kept a secret, then it really wasn't kept a secret. She had already taken out the methods of raising poultry, interplanting and rearing. She had also handed over the methods of building greenhouses in the north. However, those were only handed over when the Zhang family and Wang family didn't need to rely on such methods to earn money, or when they needed to exchange benefits. Now, was this honeycomb briquettes prepared to be exchanged for benefits? Or was it because they didn't need to rely on it to earn money? It was hard to figure out. Perhaps because she also felt that what she said was a little untenable. The servant girl, Xiao Tao, explained, actually, doing this in Buxin County has another purpose, and that is to attack the Four Seas Academy's cross-industry economic strategy. A few days ago, when they came to sell the silver ore, they had a series of plans. However, they encountered the little young master and didn't wait for their plans to be connected before they were cut off. However, there was still a little trouble after that. The forest they bought and the straw they had to buy at a high price will cause the county to have a shortage of firewood for a certain period of time. Transporting firewood from other places will increase the cost. The little young master's intention is to let others know that as long as he is still around, don't think of using methods to attack the people of the Great Tang to obtain personal benefits. Don't think that you'll get lucky and won't give you any chances. Even if it's just a short-term scheme on firewood and straw, it's better to give up on this idea as soon as possible. When she said these words, Xiao Tao raised her head proudly, as if saying that the world was so big, who else but her could do it? The three old men understood. It turned out that Xiao Bao was angry because the people from the Four Seas Academy still dared to come and find trouble with him after finding out that he was an official in Buixin County. Furthermore, they didn't admit defeat and retreat. He wanted to specifically target the other party once, using the effect of knocking the mountain to scare the tiger and killing the chicken to warn the monkey. It was to tell those who didn't have such thoughts that they shouldn't play tricks in front of him. If they played tricks, as long as he went over, they would have to retreat. There was no room for negotiation. Old Man Chong laughed. Haha, good. You're domineering enough. You can match up to Cuckoo. It seems that the two of them have indeed inherited the true skills. The most important thing is not simply to defeat others. If it's just to defeat, my good granddaughter Xian Heir can also do it. The main thing is that Xiao Bao didn't forget to take the people's livelihood into consideration when he was dealing with his opponent. It's hard to find a hidden plan, but it's hard to find one after another. Yes, the Zhang family is the same as the expert who taught him. At the very least, he should kill two birds with one stone. Otherwise, he won't be calculating and will have to rely on the two of them in the future. Old Man Pai, who understood the way the Zhang family and the Wang family did things, was now relieved. He felt that even if the expert behind the Zhang family and the Wang family died, they didn't have to worry about not having an heir. When the time came when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo grew up and taught their skills to others, generations of the Tang Empire wouldn't have to worry about sudden crises in the future. Unless the emperor was muddle-headed, such a thing probably wouldn't happen. If the current emperor was muddle-headed, perhaps the experts from the Zhang family and the Wang family could. Li Sun? He couldn't think about this anymore. Thinking of something, Old Man Pai couldn't help but tremble. At the same time, he had a trace of fear for the Zhang family and the Wang family. Old Man Pai wasn't like Old Man Pai, who had followed the Zhang family and the Wang family since Sanshui County. He didn't know the two families as well as the Old Man Pai. He didn't know that the Zhang family had always been scheming. When a scheme was used, it was never just for one purpose. Moreover, when the scheme was used, it was hard for people to figure it out. When people saw it, they couldn't stop it even if they wanted to. For example, the promotion of Sanshui County from Zhongxin County to Shangxin County. All of these were laid out little by little when people didn't expect it. After he fell ill and almost died, he was brought to Suzhou and gradually integrated into the lives of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Compared to Old Man Pai, he was much worse, but he still knew some of the situation. For example, the construction of Suzhou, the arrangement of the dam being breached, and various methods in Idyll. When he first learned about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they were in two different wars. When the two joined forces, not only did they win the two wars, but they also schemed against the Tubo Empire. They exchanged a lot of livestock for Jianan Dao at a low price. At that time, no one would have thought that they would immediately counterattack after defeating the Tubo Empire's economic war. According to this, Xiao Bao probably still had a backup plan. Thinking of this, Old Man Yao asked the servant girl Xiao Tao, "Apart from this, what else? What else? What else?" Xiao Tao asked in return. She lowered her head and thought for a while before saying, "Maybe there's more. I heard the young master and the young lady mention that in the future, they should make more paper and continue to study printing. This way more people won't have to worry about paper. Bad paper can be used to make things to hold eggs. It's convenient to transport them and can be used to build houses. I don't know about the rest, but there should be more." The young lady and the young master discussed this matter for 3 days. Similarly, it shouldn't take that long. That means there's more. The three old men thought at the same time. After so many things were settled, the three old men were in a good mood. Seeing that the honeycomb coal wouldn't dry up in a short time, they ran to the model to have fun. They were very happy. Some people were happy while others were sad. Zhang Shua was now worried about who he should send to Xiankai County. Firstly, it had to be his own people. Secondly, it had to be someone who could take care of things independently and know when to advance and when to retreat. In the future, Xiankai County wouldn't be as simple as it was now. Zisho, help me think about who should be sent to Xiankai County. It has to be someone who is really capable and can do practical things. He has to be able to deal with the business of the Zhang family and the Wang family. He has to be able to not restrict the business of the Zhang family and the Wang family. What if we send a hothead who doesn't find the fault with the original county magistrate and acts against the business of the Zhang family and the Wang family first? Then we'll be in big trouble. Zhang Shua didn't have an idea at the moment, so he turned to ask Zhang Jiuling, who he had called to discuss this matter with. Zhang Jiuling was also worried. He really didn't want to get involved. He didn't want to offend either side. Could the Zhang family and the Wang family stop them? Even the emperor could only use conditions in exchange, let alone others. When he heard Zhang Shua's question, he had no choice but to say, just send an obedient person with 2 nimble assistants to investigate the accounts of Xiankai County. However, it can't involve Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, let alone Prince Tang and. After dealing with Feng Changgong and the others, just put away your thoughts and do your job properly. If you run into any trouble, ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for advice. Don't act on your own accord. Just like the officials in Luzhou, as long as you follow the rules, you won't run into any trouble. Zhang Shua had also thought of this point. However, he was worried that Yu Wenrong would object and make things difficult for him behind his back. Therefore, he retreated in order to advance. He gave up his position and didn't let the person he arranged go over. Instead, he sent the person on his side who was not capable to Xiankai and waited to watch the show. On his side, there weren't many people who could really do things. There were people who could do things and had passed the imperial examinations. For example, those who passed the imperial examinations in Jianjia Academy would be easy to use. However, they weren't his people. They were from the Zhang family and the Wang family. No, definitely not. After pondering for a long time, Zhang Shua sighed to Wei Wei and said, officials of grade 6 and above can't go. We can only send people from grade 6 to grade 9. Just the 6 of them. Write down 3 names first. As for the other 3, we'll bring them up when others object. Alright. When Zhang Jiuling saw that Zhang Shua had already made up his mind, he knew it was useless to object. Chapter 7:14. Zhang Shua made up his mind. The next morning it was morning court. He didn't know why the weather was so hot today. It was a little stuffy early in the morning. The moment the sun came out he could feel sweat seeping out. Today was also a crowded day. All the 5th rank and above people in the capital were here. They stood in 2 rows outside. Fortunately, there were people holding umbrellas for them. Zhang Shua wondered if he should wait until after work to talk to the emperor about the candidates. At the same time, he could also get some tea from the emperor. There wasn't much tea at home. Ever since he had a bad relationship with Cuckoo, Zhang Shua and Wang family didn't bring him any tea when they sent him tea a few days ago. Children were really vengeful. He thought so, but someone wouldn't let him do so. At the start of the morning court, without waiting for Li Longji, who was sitting under 2 umbrellas, to ask about the situation during the spring plowing, Yuan Qianyao suddenly floated out. At least in Zhang Shua's eyes, he was like a ghost. Your Majesty, I heard yesterday that Baoxin County's Registrar Zhang Xiaobao and County Deputy Wang Wan submitted a letter to the Secretariat. They want to fill the positions of the officials promoted from Xiankai County. There are 6 candidates and I think it's feasible. Yuan Qianyao was afraid that Zhang Shua would secretly say it. If he didn't mention it now, he wouldn't have the chance to participate in it later. He couldn't just blindly follow Zhang Shua. Zhang Shua wasn't the only person in the Secretariat. If he couldn't find out about this, he wouldn't be able to be the Prime Minister. Li Longji didn't know about this and didn't directly say anything. Instead, he glanced at Gao Lishir. Gao Lishir was also puzzled. How did Xiao Bao and Cuckoo go through the proper channels? It might be so for other officials, but it wasn't right for them. Zhang Zhong didn't seem to have gone through the proper channels many times. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo always directly wrote to him about what they wanted to do, and let the emperor know through him. Then they would achieve their goals. Gao Lisher, who couldn't figure it out and didn't understand, gave Li Longji a blank look. Seeing that Gao Lisher didn't know, Li Longji became interested and asked Yuan Qianyao, "How can Xian Kai County be promoted to a county? Tell me." This simple sentence made all the officials envious and jealous. It wasn't because the emperor asked about the promotion of Zhong County, but because the emperor didn't mention when the registrar and deputy county magistrate of Baoxin County would be in charge of Xian Kai County. It was as if what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said was very normal. That was how it should be, to catch up with the censorate. The officials of the censorate and the Ministry of Rights resisted the urge to stand up and tell the emperor that this matter was against the rules. They just stood there and selectively lost their hearing. Yuan Qianyao wasn't thinking about this either. He replied to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, Commandery Prince Tang, and wishes to build a few businesses in Xian Kai County to improve the living standards of the local people. Baoxin County's Registrar Zhang Xiaobao and Deputy County Magistrate Wang Wan should be helping to preside over matters in Xian Kai County. Oh no, they should be in Xian Kai County to see how they can manage Baoxin County together. This plan is divided into 4 steps. Once these 4 steps are done, the corresponding education and medical treatment will follow. At that time, the population of the county will definitely exceed 5,000 people. Therefore, there are 6 candidates for the replacement of positions Chanxi Zhanghan. Yuan Qianyao didn't forget about the 6 candidates when he told Li Longji the details of the matter. They were all Yu Wenrong's men. Although they weren't really his men, he could still give Zhanghan a blow. When the officials heard this, their eyes swept back and forth between Yu Wenrong and Zhang Han, wanting to see their reactions. Under normal circumstances, even the county magistrate of Shangxin County was only a secondary class, grade 6 local official. No one in the capital cared about the officials. If they were really appointed, they would be demoted. However, once the Zhang family and Wang family were involved, things would not be so simple. In the beginning, it was Sanshui County. Now no one could send an official there. If they wanted to send an official there, they would have to first be a scribe and slowly rise up the ranks. Who would want to directly send a county magistrate there? Dream on. Not even the registrar or deputy magistrate could be sent there, let alone a county magistrate. It was about the same for Huayuan County. There was also Luzhou Prefecture and Shu Prefecture where Commandery Prince Tang and was located. These were the places where the Zhang family and Wang family had been before. Once there was a position, they would do anything to squeeze into it. They would rather not take the position in the capital first. After 2 years, they would definitely be able to come back. Those with idle positions would have real power. Those from the Ministry of Rights would be able to go to the Ministry of War or the Ministry of Revenue. This was a shortcut. As long as they were not stupid and went against people when they went there, they would have a golden signboard that was extremely dazzling. Currently, no one knew who would be able to take over the position of Baoxin County. The neighboring Xian Kai County was also targeted by the Zhang family and Wang family. They had already started building a complete set of facilities. Would there be any shortage in the future? Li Longji knew what all the officials knew. If Xiaobao and Wang Wan really got involved, Xian Kai County would become very prosperous in the future. They would be able to pay a lot of taxes every year. Unfortunately, Zhang Zhong could no longer be sent to be the provincial governor. The people from the Zhang family and Wang family could not be sent to be local officials for the time being. Otherwise, they would really want to disperse. At that time, they would have more money. They could do whatever they wanted and fight wherever they wanted. The 6 people who were promoted were all minor officials. Li Longji did not know who they belonged to. His eyes followed the direction of the officials' gazes. When he saw them, he understood. They were actually Zhang Shua and Yu Wenrong's men. If Zhang Shua knew what Li Longji was thinking, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. None of those 6 people were his men. His men had all gone through the imperial examinations. Look at those 6 people. Some of them were shady, and some of them slowly worked their way up. None of them were even in this life. At this time Li Longji spoke, "What do you think?" After he asked, he did not forget to look at Gao Lisher. He meant to say that Gao Lisher should also think about it. Don't send the wrong person. If you really send a stupid person there, he would find trouble with the Zhang family and Wang family for no reason and delay the tax collection. Gao Lisha replied to Li Longji with a look of understanding. He stood there and began to think. He knew that the best candidate was not someone who had accumulated experience in the local areas, nor was he someone who had gone through the imperial examinations. He had to be someone who had been sponsored or taught by the Zhang family and Wang family. The best candidate was, of course, someone who had graduated from the Jianjia Academy. Those who had passed the imperial examinations could be arranged as they wished. If they were asked to write history, they would do it. If they were asked to do something, they would do it. They would never make any mistakes. This was because these people wanted to take the imperial examinations. They would have to report to the academy a year in advance. The academy would specially set questions for them. They had to pass within a year before they were allowed to take the imperial examinations. Otherwise, even if they were capable and could get a place as a high scholar elsewhere, they would not be able to pass the imperial examinations. Those who graduated from the Jianjia Academy were all very capable. He had also heard that the examination questions were different every year. Some would send you out to be a registrar. The deputy county magistrate and county magistrate were in cahoots. Your good ideas would all be suppressed and you would be asked what to do. Some would send you to places that were prone to floods. When you were the county magistrate, the officials below would not cooperate with you. The provincial central government and the imperial court would not allocate money to you. How could you minimize the disasters caused by floods? All the examination questions would not be asked in person. Instead, they would give you a map and arrange for people to complete the personnel involved in the examination questions. When you were the county magistrate, you would be like a real county magistrate in the year of the examination. There would be others who would cooperate with you or not. They would play supporting roles. The difficulty of the examination was definitely higher than real life. There would even be unruly people who would cause trouble. The local gentry would be powerful. How could those who could accept such an examination and survive it be easy to deal with? It was really comfortable to use such people. When a place was in trouble, they would be sent to be officials. That would save them a lot of trouble. However, all the places that the Zhang family and Wang family had been to, except for Sanshui County, could not be arranged anywhere else. Otherwise, it would be terrible. If they really worked together, it would be like the wind following the tiger and the clouds following the dragon. No matter what, they had to be suppressed. While Gao Lisha was thinking about this, the imperial court had already started to quarrel. Some people said that any of the 6 people could be chosen and that 3 people would be enough. Some people specifically picked 3 people. There were also people who rejected the 6 people one by one, saying that none of them could be chosen. At this time, Zhang Shua had not said anything. It was not time for him to stand up personally. Naturally, he would have his own people to help him. Time passed quietly like this. Li Longji was not in a hurry. He asked someone to bring tea and sat there to drink. When the officials of the Ministry of Rites saw the emperor drinking tea, they also chose to be blind. As the sun rose, it was getting hotter and hotter. What if the emperor's body could not bear it and fainted? Just drink a little. Li Longji watched the commotion and planned to eat something later to prolong the morning court. When he heard the excuses of the people below, he felt that it was very interesting. He signaled Gao Lisha to come closer and said, "Lisha, what do you think about sending 3 people who passed the examination of Jianjia Academy?" "Oh, there's no need for 3. 1 is enough. Jianjia Academy's examination is stricter than the imperial examination." Gao Lisha wanted to nod and agree. If he sent 3 people from the academy, then Xiaobao and Cuckoo would have less to worry about. However, he could not and could only reply, "Your Majesty, I think that's not right. The people from Jianjia Academy should be sent to places where they are needed more. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are overseeing Xian Kai County, so we don't have to worry about them at all. Moreover, even if the officials sent are not good, Xiaobao and Cuckoo will have ways to deal with them. He Wei, whom I asked them to deal with, is not only not on a business trip but also learned a lot. He is not greedy and is wholeheartedly devoted to the people. This is all thanks to Xiaobao and Cuckoo's teachings. It was precisely because of this that Li Longji was not in a hurry. He really did not believe that the 3 local officials sent could avoid Xiaobao and Cuckoo's methods when they were disobedient. If there really was such a person, they should be given a better position. After hearing Gao Lisha's words, he was also very satisfied with him. He did not help his adopted son gain any benefits. How loyal. He nodded slightly and said, "Why don't we order Zhang Zhong to set up an academy in Luoyang? We can find people from the Jixin courtyard to teach there." "I don't think Luoyang is good. Why don't we build an academy in Wanyan County? When Zhang Zhong comes to the capital, there will be someone there to manage it," Gao Lishir suggested. The two of them talked about other things while the people below were quarreling. When the monarch and subject were almost done talking, Zhang Shua finally spoke. Chapter 7:15. As soon as Zhang Shua finished speaking, the court was suddenly silent. All the officials looked at Zhang Shua differently. Cui Riji was now a secondary grade 3 official. Zhang Shua was going to promote him to a secondary grade 6 official. This was a huge drop in rank. If one were to calculate secondary grade 3, primary grade 4, secondary grade 4, secondary grade 4, secondary grade 4, to secondary grade 6, how much would his rank drop? Furthermore, he would be demoted from a capital official to a local official. His salary would also change. But thinking about it carefully, the position of palace supervisor was indeed too idle. It did not have any real power. It was better to go to a different place before being promoted to a better position. If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard this, they would know that this was called a high rank. In order to promote people, they could first promote a person to a department level and give him a very idle position. For example, this person could be promoted in 3 to 5 years. At that time, the department level official would be demoted to a small county in a second-grade city to be a county magistrate or secretary. This position was originally a department level official. At most, it would be a department level official. But if it was a small position, there would not even be a deputy department level official. It seemed very reasonable. The department level official would be promoted to a department head position, a high rank. If he continued to work, he would be promoted to the provincial level and not to the local city. This time he would have some power and authority. After that, he would be demoted to the level of a divisional leader with real power. In less than 15 years, he would be promoted to the position of a real leader. If he was not a mayor, he would be a deputy mayor or a deputy secretary. After 2 more years of training in a normal city, the secretary would also be the mayor or deputy mayor. In a better city, he would only be in charge of politics and be the secretary. After that, he would be promoted to the position of a high official. Switching back and forth, those who did not know would think that they were promoted and demoted. In fact, they were promoted step by step. This was what Zhang Shua had in mind. He wanted to drop down first. After all, it wasn't easy to change his position in the Hall of Supervisors, so he might as well take a detour and get promoted. At the same time, he could earn more money. Who didn't want to be an official in a place where the Zhang and Wang families had been before? If one did a good job and didn't cause trouble, when the place developed, they would immediately receive a large sum of money the moment they left their post. Especially in Sanshui County. Although he couldn't get any benefits when he was a county magistrate, when he was a county magistrate, the county would take care of all his family's needs. He couldn't even spend his salary. Of course, he didn't need to save it. After a few years, he wouldn't make any mistakes. When he was promoted, he could get a sum of money from the county magistrate. It was a sum that he couldn't even get when he was a county magistrate. It was enough for 3 generations to spend without waste. Until now, no one had dared to do as they wished, insisting on being greedy and accepting bribes. I don't think it's appropriate. Cui Riji is an official of the capital. What if he can't figure it out when he goes to the local area? How can he handle political affairs? An official stood up and objected. That's not right. Back then, His Majesty had specially promoted the local officials to the capital and sent them down to allow the government to pass. Why can't he do it now? Zhang Shua's people immediately responded. As a result, the two sides quarreled again. In the end, they let the emperor make the decision. Li Longji didn't care who was sent. In any case, it was the same no matter who went. Besides, he still had to give Zhang Shua some face, so he agreed to Zhang Shua's suggestion. After Cui Riji's appointment was announced, Yu Wenrong's side couldn't accept it. After thinking about it, he also said, "Your Majesty, I think the position of registrar should be taken by the current imperial secretary, Li Linfu." All the officials were stunned. Just now, a third-rank official was sent down. This time it was a fourth-rank official. It seemed that compared to the Zhang Shua and Wang families, the officials in the capital were worthless. A sixth-rank official was sent down, and all the officials below were high-ranking officials. Similarly, after arguing for a while, Li Longji also agreed to let Li Linfu go. Li Linfu didn't know that his destiny had been changed by someone else. As for the third position, it was arranged by Li Longji himself. He sent a county magistrate from another county, the kind that was also very stupid, similar to He Yiwei. He was going to send it over to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to deal with. A blue flame rose faintly, and a kettle sat on top of it. Many people were watching. Maid Xiaotao held a honeycomb briquette in her hand and explained to the people watching, "This is honeycomb briquette, and that is a stove made from honeycomb briquette. It's simple to make and easy to use. It takes longer to burn than normal firewood. If you make it yourself, 20 honeycomb briquettes will only cost you 1 copper coin." When the river was connected, the coal would be shipped in by boat. Some people would say, "I don't need to spend money to burn firewood. I burn firewood every year. I don't need to fork out a single copper coin. I have to make both coal and a furnace." Actually, that's not the case. We won't let everyone spend this money for nothing. If you have firewood, you can take it out and sell it to us. We will buy it at a high price. We are willing to buy a cart of inferior firewood for 5 copper coins, but a cart of good firewood can be sold for 8 or 10 copper coins. Some people will say that a cart of firewood can burn for a month, but if you make honeycomb briquettes, 10 pieces can only burn for a day. In that case, even if you make 10 carts of firewood less than a year, you won't be able to make any money. But if you make firewood and sell it, you can have a cart full of firewood in 2 to 3 days. Isn't that a profit? Also, we have another plan. That is, as long as you sell your firewood to us, we will provide you with coal and other things for free. Think about it, a big bundle of straw can only make a meal. Sometimes it may not be enough, such as stewing, which is very fire-consuming. Honeycomb briquette is different. At most, 2 pieces of honeycomb briquette can make a stew very mushy. Moreover, it's very easy to use. You can use it even in winter. Put a wire net on it and you can even roast food. Maid Xiaotao summed up the speech by herself and tried her best to explain it to the people. However, the people didn't listen at all. Even if she performed better than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, she couldn't move the people's hearts. At this time, He Yiwei came out and shouted at the top of his voice, "Our county's official Zhang and county deputy Wang, who are Xiaobao and Cuckoo, need firewood and straw. Therefore, they asked you to make honeycomb briquettes. Don't waste them." As soon as he shouted, the people suddenly swarmed over and carefully looked at the honeycomb briquettes in Xiaotao's hand. Some people went to see how to make the stove, and some began to ask in detail how to use the honeycomb briquettes more economically. No one was watching from the side, and no one in the county hesitated. If Xiaochong and Idyll saw this, he would have a deeper understanding of what Zhang Xiaobao meant when he said that the people could also support you. He Yiwei's honest words were more effective than Xiaotao's lively speech. The people didn't understand the principles, but they knew how to choose. When they heard that it was Xiaobao and Cuckoo who needed it, all their hesitation was cast away. Old Man Pai looked up at the sky and sighed. He said to Old Man Yao, "This is the human heart." It was like this in Luzhou. Zhang Zhong called for help, and thousands of people responded. No one doubted him at all. Even now, when I think about that scene, it still makes me feel emotional. Old Man Yao was a little jealous. As the Prime Minister, he couldn't do this. He didn't expect that the reputation of the 2 little guys could be so effective. It seemed that it was right to not let Zhang Zhong be a local official again. Otherwise, if he called for a rebellion, the local people would probably follow suit. Xiaotao didn't expect things to be so simple. She only needed to mention the young master and the young lady, and the people could accept it. She was surrounded by the people and began to explain the formula. She also told them where the coal face was shipped from. The place next to Xiang City was more than 200 miles away from here. It was along the Ru River. When the time came, they could sell the things here there. The travel cost was not much, and a ship could carry a lot of coal face. The people listened carefully. They thought it was troublesome just now. If there was firewood, why would they need to make a honeycomb coal? However, it was different now. Xiaobao and Cuckoo needed it, so they naturally had to support them. As long as they didn't lose money, it didn't matter whether they earned or not. The people who stayed here also came closer to listen. When they saw the expressions of the people around them, they shook their heads helplessly. He knew that the plan of the higher-ups had failed again, and it was a complete failure. Although the Zhang family and the Wang family said that they were buying firewood and straw, they definitely wouldn't leave any loopholes for others to exploit. When the time came, they would definitely have other ways to control it. When the honeycomb coal could be sold, Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and Li Sun were still at the construction site in Xinsai County, watching the construction scene. The workshop couldn't be built in a day. Even if the people were working hard for the sake of quality, they had to wait for a lot of time. They had to wait for the previous place to dry up before they could move on to the next step. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't expect to be able to build one floor in 3 days. If that was the case, 6 days would be enough. This was because there wasn't a need for buildings that were too tall. 2 floors were enough. 1 floor for work and the other floor for raw materials. If there was a special place for processing, they could put the raw materials below and live on the top floor. Your Royal Highness, are you going to stay here tonight? Why are you looking for us to chat? This official is still sleepy. I really can't afford to accompany you. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the sky and saw that Li Sun didn't seem to want to leave, so he asked him, "Isn't it just that we haven't seen each other for a long time? I just want to talk to you. When we talk, you eat grilled fish. Otherwise, you have to eat supper too. It's the same. At most, I'll go to bed early tonight. Can you bear to chase me away?" Li Sun had an aggrieved expression. Unfortunately, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't believe him, who asked him to show such good acting skills when he was talking to Feng Changgong. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said, "Don't say such things. You should set a time to rest first. Otherwise, Cuckoo and I will go back to the county and not come out." "Time? How about it at midnight? I know that you're moved by love. It's a pity that I haven't found my other half yet." Li Sun gave him a time and then continued to complain. "I'm jealous. I can't do it at midnight. At the very least, I can't get up tomorrow." Zhang Xiaobao wanted to explain that he couldn't do anything now, but he suddenly realized that it was useless to explain. He could only set a time. Chapter 7:16. When the moon rose before the sun set, it was time for the workers to rest. Those who lived nearby could go home, and those who lived far away could live in tents. 3 meals were provided a day. These days, dinner was always the best, and there was also a bowl of wine. It was the same as what the Zhang family and Wang family used to do. Today, because Li Sun wanted to eat barbecue, the entire construction site started barbecuing. There were no vegetables, so they could only drink soup. The people here were not used to eating barbecued vegetables. Li Sun ate different from the others. The others barbecued a small portion of mutton, mostly chicken and pork. Each person had a fish, as they did not like to eat barbecued fish. During the preparation, Li Sun began to wander around with a few guards. He looked here and there and occasionally stopped to talk to others. The people working now knew who this person was. He was a member of the imperial family, Li Sun, Prince Tang. If it was just this name, the commoners would only talk about it occasionally in their free time for the sake of novelty. However, Li Sun was definitely not so easily forgotten. Who was good and who was bad, the commoners were not stupid. Of course they knew. How the commoners of Shuzhou were doing now could be found out from the mouths of the merchants who came and went. What they didn't expect was that this legendary member of the royal family was actually so amiable. He smiled at everyone he saw and didn't have a condescending tone when he spoke. He didn't wear the silk clothes of ordinary rich people, but light blue cloth clothes, which were said to be made of white fold. This kind of clothes did not look rich at all. One could only tell the difference if they looked closely at the stitches, the workmanship, and the dark patterns embroidered on it. When you barbecue this kind of fish, remember to put oil on it. Look, yours is burnt. Also, turn it over immediately after you sprinkle the salt. Don't let the salt stay on the fish. It's not salted fish. We didn't catch enough prawns today. Otherwise, we would have barbecued them for you. Li Sun walked to a barbecue table under the respectful gaze of the crowd and explained how to barbecue to the people sitting there. In fact, other people knew how to barbecue, but they didn't do it that way. The barbecuers consciously dissolved the salt in the water, made a small plate, and gently brushed it on the fish. They flipped it diligently and didn't put any oil at all. At this time, after hearing Li Sun's words, the person in charge of the roasting nodded and replied, "Your Highness, it's too wasteful to put oil on the roasted food. It's also not easy to use salt. It's better to save as much as possible. Don't be thrifty. I'm letting you eat so that you can eat well. If you're thrifty, I wouldn't have prepared these for you. Just eat what you should eat. Don't worry, this little bit of food comes from your work. As long as you work hard, you'll be worthy of the food." Li Sun finally understood. It turned out that he wasn't the only one who was smart. They weren't stupid either. They just couldn't bear to part with the food. He hurriedly persuaded them and gave the task of persuading them. He had the guards look everywhere. After looking around, he returned. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already prepared everything. In addition to the food for others, there were also the shrimp that they caught, and the cow that Li Sun had people look for during the day that accidentally fell to its death. He didn't know why the cow was so stupid. It threw a tantrum while plowing the field for a long time. In the end, someone secretly found someone to sell it. Didn't it fall to its death? After picking up a piece of meat and putting it on the barbecue, Li Sun suddenly asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, who do you think the imperial court will send to take over Feng Changgong's current position? I don't like him. He came here during the day again. He didn't know anything and just talked nonsense. He even brought a Taoist priest with him to look around. I don't think he has any good intentions." Zhang Xiaobao put 2 shrimp on the barbecue. He slowly flipped through it and said, "It doesn't matter who they send, as long as there is a result. If Feng Changgong didn't find a Taoist priest, he might be able to stay in an idle position for a while. Now that the Taoist priest has found him, he's finished. Don't you want him to go to your place to spend money? You have to hurry up or you won't have a chance. I have to teach him a lesson. In public, he doesn't have any ability. In order to promote Zhongxian to Shangxian, he actually sent people to other places to find refugees. I heard that he has a room in his house where the statue of Yama is enshrined. Every day, he has to worship it and burn an incense stick. It's not a big deal. The problem is that he wants the surrounding places to suffer disasters, so he can attract refugees to replenish the population. In private, this is the most important thing. He has offended me in Cuckoo. He knew we wanted to divert the river, but he insisted on stopping us. Even if he's a saint, I won't let him have an easy time. Otherwise, if word of this spreads in the future, won't anyone be able to offend us?" Li Sun could understand Zhang Xiaobao. Although Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were usually easygoing, they would not have an easy time if someone targeted them. Even if they did not die, they would lose a layer of skin. Back then, when they were in Luzhou, how badly were those officials tortured by them? If they were dreaming now, it would be a nightmare. However, he could not think of how Zhang Xiaobao would deal with Feng Changgong. Hence he asked, "Xiaobao, you can't just let him do it there, right? The people will believe you." "Of course I can't let them do that. It won't be effective. I have to help them do it. I have to let the people know that there's a Taoist priest called Dream Chaser who's very powerful. He can reach the heavens and the earth, let alone the rise and fall of Xian Kai County. He can even see the major events in the world. I've decided. I'll meet him tomorrow and see what he's capable of. If he's really powerful, I'll commend him for it. I can't let a capable person overlook it," Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Sun. At this time, the prawns had turned red. He took the ones that were hot and skinned them bit by bit. When the first prawn was placed on the plate that Wang Wan brought over, he said to Wang Wan, "Peel the next one yourself. Don't always bully me. The ones I peel aren't as fragrant as the ones you peel." "Xiaobao, where's the Taoist priest we hired? Didn't you say you wanted to fight poison with poison?" Wang Wan bit off a third of the prawn and smiled at Zhang Xiaobao. "He's here. Our master is His Royal Highness Prince Tang." And Zhang Xiaobao raised his chin and pointed at Li Sun. "How can it be me? I don't know how to do it." Li Sun quickly shook his head and refused. "How can it not be you? You ate the meat I made, so you have to do some work. If you don't know how to do it, you can learn. In fact, you don't need to know too much. Tomorrow, I'll put on a disguise for you. You just need to do as I say. You'll definitely be able to make Feng Changgong apologize. Otherwise, not only him but his family will be finished. Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Sun as he roasted a prawn for Wang Wan. Li Sun stared at Zhang Xiaobao's movements. Then I'll try. But don't blame me if I mess up. Slow down, let me see clearly. Li Sun also wanted to learn Zhang Xiaobao's cooking skills. When the time came, she could either cook for herself or for her future wife. Even if she could cook for the servants, it would be good to get a few compliments. Ever since he met Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he never thought that there was anything wrong with men cooking. Which of the real good cooks were not men? Zhang Xiaobao really couldn't understand Li Sun's thoughts. He tried to slow down and said while roasting the prawns, the best prawns are actually turned by hand. I don't want to burn my hands. If the prawns become blisters and become calluses, it will affect the sensitivity of my hands. I can also write and draw. Many scholars don't want to do rough work because of this. The advantage of roasting prawns by hand is that you can pinch them during the roasting process. If you use chopsticks for a long time, your wrists will be sore. Besides, it's not as good as your hands. When Cuckoo and I eat salted prawns, the shells are still intact. In fact, the same goes for roasted prawns. If you pinch them accurately, Weiwei will lift the head and pinch the tail, and the whole shell will come off. Oh, so that's the case. Then don't you know how to wear gloves? Li Sun was really thinking about how to cook. You can wear gloves, but you need to practice for a long time. Otherwise, it won't feel good. If you want your hands to be soft, remember to soak more milk. Zhang Xiaobao finished roasting the prawns and blew on them a few times before peeling them. The peeled meat naturally went into Wang Wan's open mouth. Just as Li Sun nodded, he suddenly reacted. What do you mean by not being able to write and draw well? You want to use a flying knife, but you're afraid that you won't be able to do it properly, right? Same. Don't always talk about such violent things. We're civilized people. Don't eat that burnt meat. Take the fins from the side. After roasting the beef once, you can eat slowly. I'll take the fins away and show you how to roast the whole fish. That thing's tail can easily be roasted off if you're not careful. Zhang Xiaobao put his prawn into his mouth and chewed it together with the shell. Night finally came. Some of the people who worked during the day went home, while others went into the tent to sleep. They didn't chat, so as not to delay tomorrow's work. Numerous torches were lit. Another group of people came here and began to continue their work during the day. There were people working 24 hours non-stop, hoping to finish the work as soon as possible. Zhang Xiaobao finally persuaded Li Sun to go to sleep. He and Wang Wan lay in the tent, but they couldn't fall asleep. The two of them opened the skylight above the tent and covered the blanket tightly, only revealing a pair of eyes to look at the stars. It seems that there won't be rain tomorrow. The sky is clear. Wang Wan looked at the stars and said, "That's not necessarily true. Maybe there will be a rain shower. If it were in Shanghai, who dares to say whether there will be rain or not?" Zhang Xiaobao's mind was not on the weather, but his ears were listening to the sound of mosquitoes flying around and said, "What's the situation in Shanghai like now? I hate mosquitoes. If they want to sting, hurry up and do it. They're buzzing and annoying." Wang Wan tidied up the blanket to avoid being bitten by mosquitoes. "I haven't seen it yet. It should still be connected to here. It's said that it was later separated because of the movement of the Earth's crust. It's useless to go there now. It's impossible to develop foreign trade there. The only advantage is to build a port so that other warships won't dare to go there easily." Chapter 717. In the night, some people really couldn't sleep. It had nothing to do with mosquitoes or the sound of people working at the construction site. They just couldn't sleep because they were too excited. The invited Taoist chaser dream had finally arrived. He had even gone over to take a look during the day, but he couldn't sleep at night no matter what. Feng Changgong had no choice but to find the registrar and the county magistrate. They sat in the yard and looked at the moon in the sky and drank. "Fill it up and taste the cooked prawns. The Taoist chaser dream just told me that tomorrow the people will go home and hide. They won't dare to come out again." Feng Changgong was in a good mood. He poured wine for the registrar and the county magistrate and said to them while looking at the moon, "I wish you a great success. Cheers." The registrar was good at talking. He raised the cup and drank the wine. The county magistrate also drank a cup and said, "Sir, this time no one will dare to look down on you. But I'm worried that if you offend Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, will their parents come? If you hurt the younger one, the older one won't be able to stand it." He said that he was worried, but the meaning in his words couldn't be more clear. He didn't take Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan seriously. Feng Changgong liked to hear this kind of words. He laughed and said, "If the older one comes, I won't be afraid. He can't control me, right? It's good to let people know that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are not so powerful. Besides, the people behind us are not bad." "That's right. Sir, how can you be bad?" The registrar still flattered, but there was no joy in his eyes. Instead, there was infinite worry. The other two people didn't notice him. They clinked their cups back and forth and talked loudly under the stars and moon. After drinking until midnight, the three of them parted ways and went back to their respective homes. After walking for a while, the registrar stopped when he saw that there was no one around. He turned around and walked in another direction. After crossing 2 streets, he came to a courtyard and knocked on the door of the courtyard, making 3 long knocks and 2 short knocks. After a while, the door was pulled open from the inside. He hurriedly dashed in. The person who opened the door stuck his head out and looked at both sides before he felt relieved and closed the door again. The registrar entered the courtyard but did not go into the house. Instead, he stood there and said to the person who closed the door, "Tell the higher-ups that our eyes have been set out. We will see the results in a month." "Understood." The person who had just opened the door replied and didn't say anything else. The registrar went around a room and disappeared into the woodshed behind it. The person who spoke just now went into the room and said to another person, "Leave immediately and tell the higher-ups that the county magistrate of Xiankai County, Feng Changgong, is going to attack the Zhang family and the Wang family. Tell them to pay attention to the news in the capital, and don't miss any important information. The Zhang family and the Wang family have the ability to make money, and they don't lack the ability to scheme against others in business. They also have people who can fight. This time we will see how the other party is in the officialdom so that we can make a plan. As long as they are here, we can't do what we want." The person in the room was wrapped in black cloth from head to toe, leaving only a pair of eyes exposed. When he heard the words of the person who came in, he immediately jumped out of the open window and hid in the half-moon night. After about 15 minutes, the registrar appeared in another room. He covered the hole that was exposed when he came out with a wooden board and sprinkled a layer of soil on it. Then he walked out of the door in front of him. No one else showed up in the room. When he walked out of the room, there was a 2-story building in front of him. From time to time, he could hear the laughter of a woman and the drunken words of a man. After passing through the 2-story building, the registrar appeared on the side of a street. He looked back at the signboard with the words, "Rochun Pavilion" written on it and left with a strange smile. But as he walked, he felt that something was wrong. He looked back at the empty street and the worry in his eyes intensified. He muttered, "Should I really not do this? Will I be exposed? My superiors have told me not to do anything in the place where the Zhang family and the Wang family live. Why don't I feel anything? Yes, I don't feel anything." After saying this, the registrar continued to walk forward, but he felt very uncomfortable in his chest. After turning a corner, 2 figures suddenly appeared in front of him, which scared him. "Let me touch it." "Oh, what's so soft? Let me touch it again." "You are so bad. We are still outside. Why don't you have a good relationship with me? Is it really not good? Then why are you walking with your legs between your legs? You still say that. It's all your fault." Until the sound of a man and a woman flirting was heard. The registrar who was hiding in the shadow of a house was relieved. He cursed the adulterous couple in his heart. After the 2 people passed by, he flashed out of the shadow and continued to walk back. He staggered twice and began to talk. "I'm not drunk. You don't need to help me. Why are you wearing so little clothes? Come, let me see. I told you not to help me, but you still want to help me." As they spoke, they walked, completely oblivious to the fact that the adulterous pair had changed their appearance. The woman headed for the soft spring pavilion, while the man took out a set of gray clothes from his bosom. He took off his light blue clothes and changed into them. Then he took out an item and threw it on the roof. He then kicked the wall twice and leaped up. He jumped from house to house, occasionally stopping to hide in the shadow on the other side of the roof. He followed the registrar who had just left while talking drunkenly. After he went up the roof, two people appeared where he had just been standing. One of them had a dog. Their clothes were gray and black. Even the dog's body had the same pattern. The person without the dog changed into a set of light yellow clothes and tied a xiaoyao scarf around his head before walking in the direction of the soft spring pavilion. The other person let go of the dog and walked around to another street. The dog stuck to the corner of the house by itself and walked along the road in front of him without making a sound. The next morning, Zhang Xiaobao opened his eyes and looked at Wang Wan, who was hugging him like a fish. He sighed and muttered, "No wonder I dreamed last night that the police caught me. They were worried that I would run away, so they handcuffed me so tightly. I knew it. Who could catch me? Who caught you? I'll help you untie them." Wang Wan was not awake yet. Perhaps she heard Zhang Xiaobao's voice and said something in her sleep. "Go to sleep. No one can catch me, let alone a broken handcuff. What's the use of twisting my arm to the back? The joint will come out. Why haven't the people of the first team come back yet? They are not as good as Huzi and the others." Zhang Xiaobao adjusted the blanket for Wang Wan. Seeing that it was just dawn, he went back to sleep. When Li Sun came to find the two of them, Wang Wan was complaining to Zhang Xiaobao that he did not make a sound after waking up. It would have been better if he had made some noise. She would have been able to wake up immediately. Zhang Xiaobao had a helpless expression on his face. He told Wang Wan that they should indeed live separately. Otherwise, their vigilance would disappear. Li Sun had just woken up and had not washed his face. He heard half of the conversation and thought that they were talking about him. He explained, "Although I was in the tent next to yours last night, I didn't hear anything. There was no movement at all." "Thank you." Zhang Xiaobao patted Li Sun's shoulder and walked out. "Hurry up and wash up. What can you hear? No one is a good person," Wang Wan said and also went out. Li Sun stood there and muttered, "I'm telling the truth. I really didn't hear anything. Why do we have to live separately? Young face, young face, young face." When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were about to eat, a guard came over and said to the two, "Young master, young lady, there is something wrong with the registrar. Number 105 and number 106 did not come back. I think they went with someone. There is something wrong with another place." Continue. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to train others this time. Otherwise, it would have been better if he went out alone. He did not comment and just left these two words and went to eat. Li Sun just finished eating with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Feng Changgong arrived. This time there were not so many officials. There were only 12 Yamen runners, including him, the registrar, the county magistrate, and a Taoist priest. Zhang Xiaobao looked at them and found that Feng Changgong had dark circles under his eyes. The registrar also had dark circles under his eyes. The Taoist priest, who he saw with a telescope yesterday, had a red face. Feng Changgong had dark circles under his eyes, but he seemed to be in good spirits. As soon as he arrived, he bowed to Li Sun and greeted Zhang Xiaobao. "Registrar Zhang, how is your cultivation? Come, let me introduce you. This is the dream-chasing Taoist priest from Dragon Tiger Mountain." Taoist priest. This is the registrar of Buxin County, Zhang Xiaobao. Although he is young, he is very capable. Dragon Tiger Mountain? There is a place like this now? Dream-chasing Taoist priest is indeed immortal. Zhang Xiaobao asked in puzzlement and praised the Taoist priest. "Little friend, you are wrong. What is immortal and what is bone?" Dream-chasing Taoist priest swung his horsetail whisk and pulled it over. Wang Wan looked at them from the side and did not say anything. She turned her head to the side and thought, "You still want to play this game with Xiaobao? Xiaobao is going to trick you to death." Zhang Xiaobao really wanted to play with the other party. But considering that he had to deal with an important place in the construction site today, he did not have time to do it. He could only smile and pull Wang Wan to another place. When he left, he didn't forget to give Li Sun a meaningful glance. Li Sun didn't make any response. Instead, she ignored the Taoist priest and turned to leave. No one knew where she went. Feng Changgong, who felt that he was treated coldly, had an ugly expression. After a while, he smiled at dream-chasing Taoist priest and said, "Taoist priest, please follow me." Of the three people just now, one is Prince Tang and the other two are the registrar and deputy magistrate of Buxin County. Although they are young, they are very capable. I heard that no one has ever been able to gain an advantage over them. Dream-chasing Taoist priest had actually heard about them from Feng Changgong yesterday. When he heard it again today, he still had the same smile. Wei Wei nodded and began to walk around the riverside openly. When he reached the construction site, he flipped his hand and suddenly a compass appeared. He looked around with the compass and shook his head from time to time. If it was in the past, the people would have gathered around to watch. However, no one in the construction site paid attention to him. They were all busy building houses in anticipation of a better life in the future. Seeing the reaction of the people, Feng Changgong felt even more uncomfortable. The registrar next to him still had a flattering smile on his face. The deputy magistrate also frowned. Dream-chasing Taoist priest was still indifferent. He continued to walk along the riverside. After about 100 steps, he suddenly stopped and looked at the compass and said, "This is not right. This is not right. This is not right. Men are in charge of yang while women are in charge of concealment. Why is this place so feminine when the sun shines directly? Disaster, this is a disaster." Disaster? What disaster? Taoist priest, can you say it clearly? Before Feng Changgong could say anything, the registrar asked loudly. He seemed very nervous and looked around from time to time. Unfortunately, no one was listening to them at this time, because the sound of building houses was louder than their voices. There were 2 houses that needed beams. A group of people were shouting and carrying the wood. Their voices were both loud and soft, like a mix of harmonies, covering their voices. Dream-chasing Taoist looked at Feng Changgong helplessly and said with a sigh, "This may not be a place to preach Taoism. It's better to travel on the cloud." His meaning was very clear. "I'm busy here for nothing. You can't do this either. No one is looking at you at all. You'd better give me the money I deserve and I'll continue to wander around elsewhere." Feng Changgong was also very uncomfortable. He was more puzzled. When he came yesterday, there were people greeting him. Why was there no sound today? What was the difference? How could he know? When he came here yesterday and went back and forth, he greeted people. However, when he had dinner in the evening, he found that those who greeted him worked slower than others. Just a little slower. The person in charge here didn't need Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to tell him personally. He was already unhappy. When he went to sleep at night, he went to each tent and told them that they should work hard when it was time to work. Otherwise, they shouldn't be paid and shouldn't eat the food provided by others. This morning, he told the same thing to the people who went home last night. Therefore, no one cared about other things today. They were busy with their own work so that they could be worthy of the wages and good food. Seeing that no one responded, Feng Changgong looked at the registrar and the county magistrate anxiously, meaning that they should think of a way. The registrar, who was usually very smart, responded to the county magistrate's look with a blank face at this time. He meant, "Why are you looking at me? I am not the person in charge of the site." Just when Feng Changgong had an impulse to strangle the registrar, the county magistrate took action. He went straight to the workplace in front of them and said to those who still didn't look at him, "The county magistrate has brought a powerful Taoist master here. Do you want to see him? Hurry up. The Taoist master chasing dream is very powerful." After shouting, he waited for people to come over and ask, but this time he was destined to fail. The people working had clearly heard him, but no one moved a muscle. It was not that they didn't want to be seen by the Taoist master, but they were afraid that they would delay the work and be driven away by others. Then they wouldn't be paid. It's over, they're all finished. They don't even know how big of a disaster they've provoked. If there were other fellow Taoists here, we might have been able to help them. What a pity that so many lives have been lost. The Taoist master chasing dream felt that he was treated coldly, so his words were not polite and were very vicious. Anyway, those who heard it felt uncomfortable. "You're right. I'll ask the bailiffs to bring them here and let them know where they're going to end up. Someone go and call everyone here." Since the first plan failed, Feng Changgong came up with another one. This time it was tougher. Just as the yamen runners were about to brace themselves and call for her, a voice suddenly sounded. "Fellow cultivator, may I know where you are from?" Are you from Dragon Tiger Mountain? I heard that there are many fake Taoist priests there. Oh, my Taoist name is Rumeng. Feng Changgong and the others looked in the direction of the voice and saw a Taoist priest standing there. This Taoist priest looked more like a Taoist priest than the Taoist master chasing dream. His white hair was tied up in a bun with a wooden hairpin. He was wearing linen clothes and a pair of shoes with thousand-layer soles. In his hand was a horsetail whisk with the same silvery white hair. 3 strands of whiskers hung down for more than 2 feet. His face was full of wrinkles, but his complexion was rosy. 2 long white eyebrows went down his cheeks and stopped at the line at the tip of his nose. He looked at them with slightly opened eyes, as if he had seen through everything in the world of mortals. His eyes were filled with pity, helplessness, and wisdom. This Taoist priest is used to traveling. So you are fellow Taoist Rumeng. This Taoist priest's Taoist name is Dream Chasing Dream. We are fated. May I know where you are from? Dream Chasing Dream wanted to say that he was from Mount Longhu, but when he heard that the people from Mount Longhu were all liars, he could only change his words and ask about the other party's identity. The new Taoist priest narrowed his eyes and said with a sigh, "This Taoist priest is from Mount Longhu. Unfortunately, recently many people have been using the name of the mountain to cheat everywhere. This Taoist priest is ashamed to speak. Speaking of which, this Taoist priest knows all the 108 Taoist priests of Mount Longhu. However, this Taoist priest has never seen many of them who claim to be from Mount Longhu. Do you think they are shameless?" Rumeng seemed to be very sad. After saying that, he sighed again. With a flip of his hand, a compass appeared. In the other hand, Wei moved. The horsetail whisk suddenly disappeared and turned into a pen. Then a cloud of green smoke rose. With a boom, many talismans appeared on Rumeng's body. This time, all the workers stopped and looked at the new Taoist in a daze. It was really too amazing. Even Feng Changgong and the others opened their eyes wide and had a look of disbelief. Dream Chasing Dream moved his hand, but he couldn't figure out how the other party changed. It was too fake for such a big horsetail whisk to disappear just like that. He didn't think that the other party was a real immortal. He always felt that the other party had a special method. If there weren't so many people watching, he really wanted to go over and ask for advice. If he learned it, wouldn't he have a way to make money again? Just as everyone was in a daze, Dream Chasing Dream held the compass in his hand and walked in a small circle twice. Then he said, "That's not right. This is not an ordinary place." When Dream Chasing Dream heard his words, he was happy and quickly said, "That's right. This Taoist priest also found that this place is not right, but no one listened to me. This Taoist priest thinks that this place belongs to the southwest. It is the time to offend the celestial wolf." After saying that, he looked at the other party. He thought that the other party was like him and wanted to cheat some money. In this way, the other party would naturally cooperate with him. Feng Changgong also had a look of hope on his face. He hoped that the other party could also scare others. This was a powerful move. Everyone else had stopped, but as long as he said a word, he might be able to make them leave. The registrar at the side couldn't figure it out. He looked around in confusion and was about to move forward to see what was going on. Dream Chasing Dream suddenly shook his head and said, "That's not right. Fellow Taoist, it seems that your skills are not good enough, but you can't mislead the world. This place did not offend the celestial wolf, but a fish spirit who wanted to cause trouble here. Do you think so?" As Dream Chasing Dream spoke, he had already walked to the riverside. His eyes looked at the flowing water with a very serious expression. The hearts of the surrounding people also rose. They felt that this new Taoist priest was much more powerful than the previous one. At the very least, the changes back and forth were not something that the previous Taoist priest could compare to. "Xiao Bao, I think that Li Sun is really burying his talent by being a duke. I told him once yesterday and asked him to contact him. I didn't expect him to perform so well today. He should be shooting movies. He's clearly a natural actor." Wang Wan, who was hiding elsewhere, whispered to Zhang Xiaobao. After saying that, she covered her mouth and laughed. Zhang Xiaobao also had a look of admiration on his face. He also didn't expect Li Sun to be able to play his role so well. That day, when Li Sun had just arrived, he had thought that he was suitable to be a businessman. Today, it seemed that his real profession was definitely not a businessman. Of course, he was not an actor either. He was a swindler. When he thought of this, he said, I think I have a successor. No, I have to nurture him well and nurture him into a powerful person. You really think that being a swindler is an honor? You even want to trick Li Sun. Look, Li Sun is about to perform. He's going to scare them to death. Wang Wan leaned her head on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder and said with a smile. This time Taoist Dreamer really had a new move. With a move of his hand, the front of the pen that looked like a judge's pen opened up like a lotus flower. He muttered something and suddenly stomped his feet together. After landing, he shook his head and sighed. This fish has already become a spirit. I wonder if fellow Taoist Dream Chaser can subdue it? Subdue my ass. Where did this fish spirit come from? There's no such thing. He just refuted me and now he wants me to cooperate? Dream on. Taoist Dream Chaser thought and shook his head. Fellow Taoist, you must have seen wrongly. Where did this fish spirit come from? He clearly offended the celestial wolf. Feng Changgong also echoed, that's right. He offended the celestial wolf. Taoist, you'd better hurry up and do other things. Feng Changgong wanted to chase him away. However, Taoist Dream Chaser let out a long sigh and didn't explain. He spun the judge's pen in his hand twice and pointed at the river. Hey demon, hurry up and die. As soon as his voice fell, a burst of smoke came out of the judge pen in his hand. Without waiting for the smoke to dissipate, a pillar of water suddenly rose up from the river with a bang. With a splash, a 5-foot-long fish fell to the ground. Chapter 7:18. Seeing the big fish fall to the ground, Taoist Rumming let out a long sigh and looked to the side. Seeing that there was no second fish, he said to Taoist Rumming and Taoist Feng Changgong, this fish is a spirit from the Wei River. It has done evil many times. I tracked it for many days and finally caught it. Good. Ba. When the group of people who were originally shocked heard Taoist Rumeng's words, they were surprised at the same time. Without waiting for them to ask, Rumeng said, Oh, I once caught this fish spirit with a fellow monk. I didn't expect that the fellow monk would pass away in meditation. I carry his thoughts. After saying that, Rumeng's eyes looked into the distance. He looked like he was really reminiscing. Looks like I still need to train. It's easy to make mistakes at critical moments, said Zhang Xiaobao, who was hiding behind a temporary house. I think it's not bad. At least you reacted quickly and pulled out a monk friend. Where's the other fish? Aren't there two? Wang Wan looked interested, but she realized that one fish was missing. Who knows? The explosion missed. I don't know where it flew to. Your fixed-point explosion doesn't work. Do you think it's an underwater missile? It's good enough that it can be blown out. It's better than you. Don't always blame others. This flying prawn is for you. Use the stove to stick it to me tonight. Wang Wan did not think that it was her fault at all. She picked up a prawn that was implicated and stuffed it into Zhang Xiaobao's hand. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the unlucky prawn whose tail was blown off. One isn't enough for you. Then catch a few more. What have you been thinking about all day? Do you still need to ask me about such a small matter? Wang Wan turned her head away. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and shook his head. He nudged Wang Wan. Look at me. Let me ask you. Have you been feeling a little nervous recently? Are there many things that don't go your way? Why? Wang Wan asked. Nothing, I'm just asking. Tonight we won't eat the food from the construction site. Since little root vegetable is out, I'll pack a box for you to eat. It's just a bite, no soup. Drink some mung bean water. As for the dishes, we'll just eat some garlic and cucumber. We won't bring Li Sun, just the two of us. Zhang Xiaobao stared at Wang Wan's eyes for a while. He didn't find anything, so he suggested what to eat for dinner. Wang Wan was stunned for a moment before she said, Xiaobao, thank you. I really haven't been feeling well recently. I think I've been too nourished. I'm going to do that soon. I used to be 12 years old. Don't look at me. What's there to look at? You're not allowed to have any ideas on me. Oh, I'll hit someone else. Zhang Xiaobao finally understood what was going on. No wonder. You dare? Don't put vinegar in cucumbers. I know. Add a blanket tonight and ask someone to send some things over. The things I made for others can finally be used on you. Zhang Xiaobao said understandingly. Wang Wan twisted her body twice. Don't say that. It's not certain yet. Look at Li Sun. It's good to be with you here. Saves a lot of trouble. Me. At this time, Ru Meng was still baring his fangs and brandishing his claws at the poor fish that had been killed by the explosion. No one could hear what he was muttering. They only saw him walking around the fish and talking. Such a big fish. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are really good friends. I'll eat you tonight. I don't know if the taste will be bad after being fried. With Xiaobao here, I'm not afraid. That was what Ru Meng muttered. When he thought about how to eat for dinner, he stopped, looked at the sky and said, "Poor common people. Well, I'll take this fish spirit and use kerosene to comfort all living beings." Someone immediately came over and took the fish away. It didn't matter how to eat it. It could be cooked in kerosene or boiled in water. At this time, Ru Meng was already frightened. He didn't expect that a fish would really fly out and come out of the water with a boom. Just now, he thought that Ru Meng was like him, lying. He didn't expect him to be so capable. Could it be that the Taoist of Mount Longhu was so powerful? Where was Mount Longhu? Feng Changgong's face was pale. He was very worried that Taoist Ru Meng would expose his lie. At that time, not only would the common people object, but if Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan found out, they would impeach him. Worried in his heart, he gathered his courage and approached Ru Meng. He reached out and pulled Ru Meng's sleeve and said, "Master Ru Meng, is it safe here? Do you want to let Master Ru Meng take a look?" As he spoke, Feng Changgong flipped his hand and gave Ru Meng a hard thing. If it were an ordinary person, they might not know what it was, but Ru Meng knew. He estimated the size and weight of it and the feeling when he touched it. He immediately understood that it was a piece of gold that weighed 4 taels. He didn't know where Feng Changgong got it from. If he really calculated, it was worth about 30 strings of coins. At the thought of this, Ru Meng's expression changed. His impression of Feng Changgong became worse. In less than a breath, Ru Meng said indifferently, "I only care about catching the fish spirit. Since the fish spirit is gone, I don't need to stay here any longer. I'm going to swim." After saying that, Ru Meng took a deep breath and calmed down. He rushed toward Ru River and jumped into it with a splash. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. It seemed that he didn't want the fish spirit that was going to be boiled in kerosene. When the common people saw that Master Ru Meng was no longer on the water, they exclaimed. They were also shocked. It was too magical. Just when everyone thought that Ru Meng had left, a long and distant voice came from an unknown place. "I'm Ru Meng. The fish spirit has been eliminated. You can ask fellow Taoist Ru Meng about other things. Fellow Taoist Ru Meng has great merits. He has the ability to determine the sun and the moon. The 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors are all in his heart. Feng Changgong, who invited him here, has done a great service." His voice drifted for a long time before dispersing. Everyone looked at dream-chasing Taoist priest in a different light. On the other side, Li Sun found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wet. He complained, "Didn't you say there were 2 fish? Why is there only 1? I don't care. Anyway, I have to braise it at night. Get me some ginger water. I'm so cold. The river in early summer is not warm." Zhang Xiaobao replied unhappily, "You haven't finished what I asked you to say. Why are you in such a hurry? You made me use the bamboo tube to replenish it. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for the plan to succeed. What did he give you?" "Gold. Come here. He can bring such a big piece of gold at any time. I couldn't get it at home. I have to teach him a lesson. Make it into something to calm him down." Li Sun wiped his hair with a towel and handed the gold to Zhang Xiaobao. At the same time, he was very emotional. Before he met Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he would never give such a big piece of gold to others casually. He was so poor. Now that he was with the 2 of them, no one took this gold seriously. Although it was worth more than 30 strings of coins, it was not a matter of 30 strings of coins. Ordinary people could not exchange it for such a big piece of gold even if they had 50 strings of coins, unless they bought jewelry and melted it at home. However, they could not take it out casually as money. If you want to calm down, drink some cinnabar and have a special medicinal diet. Do you think gold is so delicious? If you eat until you die, do you want to make a small box of vegetables at night? If you want, I'll get someone to send it to you. Cuckoo is not feeling well. She won't eat with you. Zhang Xiaobao weighed the gold twice and did not return it to Li Sun. Li Sun nodded. Eat? What about lunch? I decided not to eat. I'll wait for you to make a box at night. What other dishes do you have? Tell me first. I'll think about it. It's a beautiful day. No, just a cucumber. That's fine. As long as it's made by you, it won't be bad. You guys stay here. I'm going to change my clothes. So fashionable. Li Sun was very happy. He did not care about what he ate. He only cared about who made it. The food made by Xiaobao would definitely not be bad. It seemed that he had made the right choice to come to Xinsai County. After Li Sun left, Wang Wan took the gold and looked at Zhang Xiaobao with sparkling eyes. I couldn't tell. You really don't show off. Learn how to bark like a rabbit. I finally know. No wonder people couldn't catch you when you were in the city. Just put on a disguise and change your voice. Who would be able to guess who you are? Zhang Xiaobao was very cooperative. He mimicked a rabbit and squeaked twice, saying it's a life-saving skill. In order to learn this, I gave you 4 caddies of real bean cakes and dry tobacco. It's not easy to bring them into prison. That old man is fond of them. If he doesn't give me cigarettes, I can't even call him grandpa. What do you want this gold for? So the most powerful place is prison. You can learn all kinds of good things. I want to use this gold to make something good that women like, a chain. Wang Wan was happy to discover another ability of Zhang Xiaobao. Xiaobao was powerful, so she was powerful. She held the gold and said happily. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan in surprise. Is it the kind of chain that women use? You can't make it right now. Xiaobao, I'm so disappointed in you. You can't learn anything good in prison. Separate. You must live separately. Wang Wan immediately understood what Zhang Xiaobao was referring to. While speaking, she pulled Zhang Xiaobao and wanted to stuff the gold into his mouth. Not too far away, Feng Changgong was still proud of his method of giving the gold. He felt that he had really seen an immortal. He just didn't know why an immortal needed so much money. Looking at the Taoist priest Zhui Meng next to him, he was more confident in his heart. With an immortal's word, wouldn't it be what it said? Zhui Meng was very regretful at this moment. He regretted that he didn't get closer to Ru Meng just now and lost an opportunity to become an immortal. No matter how much money he cheated, it couldn't be compared to immortality. He sighed with emotion. Money was a worldly possession. But he didn't know that the immortal in his heart had earned so much money. Taoist priest Zhui Meng, why don't you show me what's good and bad here? Feng Changgong said to Zhui Meng when he saw that one had left and there was still one that he invited. He remembered that he had to do what he had to do. Zhui Meng, who felt that he had lost the opportunity to become an immortal, replied, Okay, let this poor priest take a look. After speaking, he began to take the compass and spin it again. The people who had not dispersed were not in a hurry to go back to work. They just stared at him. After spinning for a while, Zhui Meng, who had taken the money, stopped and sighed, there is still a great omen here. It's not easy to move the earth, especially the water. Chapter 719. As soon as Taoist Dream Chasing finished his sentence, Feng Changgong revealed a victorious smile. He, who had been blinded by greed, did not know the trouble he was about to face. The county magistrate was slightly worried. He was afraid that when the people stopped working, Prince Tang and would be angry. When that happened, even an immortal would not be able to protect them. The registrar stood there and thought about many things. He felt that things were not as simple as they appeared to be. Dream Chasing, who could not become an immortal, began to work. He continued, All the craftsmen here must stop. Otherwise, they will incur the wrath of the heavens and burn themselves. They had wanted to watch and listen more, but when the curious commoners heard his words, they were unhappy. Even the very capable Taoist Ru Meng, who had come in a hurry and suddenly disappeared, said that he was powerful. This workshop was not a simple construction problem. It was related to their future lives. Feng Changgong finally felt that something was wrong. He walked in front of Dream Chasing and said, Just talk about the diversion of water. Don't mention the workshop. Dream Chasing nodded to show that he understood. He said, If you want to move the soil, I have a method that can solve all disasters. However, it can only solve the soil and not the water. It's better not to touch the water. When the people who were working heard that, they would not touch the water in the future. Building the workshop was not a big deal. They all turned back to continue their work. This was because the person in charge had come over to reprimand them. He did not say anything else but asked the people who were working, "Are you worthy of the wages you receive? Are you worthy of the food you eat?" The people who still knew filial piety, loyalty, and propriety went back to work. This made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan feel very emotional. This is the true foundation of a nation. When the moon is full, it will waver. When prosperity is prosperous, it will be lonely. A moment of glory is not important to the entire nation. What is important is who can preserve the nation's heritage. America was so powerful, but didn't it gradually withdraw from the stage 100 years ago? Science and technology could be created by humans, and many results could be obtained in a short period of time. However, civilization was definitely not that simple. A country without a cultural foundation would always have to pay a corresponding price in the process of accumulation. Whether it was disasters or wars, what should exist would still exist. This is because they have their own souls. So what if they rule the world for 100 years? When the sun rises, the sun sets. When the material standards are similar, it is a competition of the depth of history. Wang Wan sighed as she watched the simple people go back to work. Zhang Xiaobao did not make any comments about this. He held Wang Wan's hand and said, "Let's go back. We still don't know what kind of person Zhang Shuo will send. I hope they don't send an idiot. Otherwise, we will have to waste a lot of effort." It was night and the moon was high in the sky. The people who took turns to work lit their torches and continued to work. Feng Changgong also made an exception and stayed behind. He was not willing to eat with the workers, and Li Sun was reluctant to share the food made by Zhang Xiaobao with others. He could only ask people to look for a small shop nearby and order them to make a more sumptuous dish. Sitting by the river, they felt the gentle night breeze, which was cool and had a trace of chill. Not far from him, Li Sun sat alone by the torches. While eating, he complained vaguely that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had gone to live a life of two people, until he could not eat anymore. His eyes were still looking at the remaining 2 boxes on the plate. He reluctantly stuffed a piece of cucumber into his stomach and looked in the direction of Feng Changgong. He said regretfully to himself, "What a pity. I invited him for nothing. I guess he won't have a chance to travel to Suzhou again. It is so easy to find a Taoist priest to join the heaven and earth. You are lucky that you are not beheaded." Thinking of this, Li Sun could feel how ruthless Zhang Xiaobao's methods were. Originally, Feng Changgong only wanted to find a Taoist priest to help, but in the end, he disguised himself as a Taoist priest. If he stayed behind after leaving, he would have changed the meaning, saying that Feng Changgong could be the emperor if he wanted. How could this be good? Feng Changgong was too much. Just let him lead the river. Why did he have to stop it? Now he had lost his life. Feng Changgong really did not think about this matter. He was thinking about how to get more benefits in the process of turning Xinsai County from Zhong County to Shaanxi County. The first credit was given to Commandery Prince Tang, and the people in the county gate could only distribute the rest of the credit. Which one should he assign to himself? Thinking about this matter, Feng Changgong glanced at the county magistrate who was staring blankly at the flowing river and asked, "County Magistrate Ma, which one of the 4 places do you think is good? Planting sesame seeds in fragrant oil workshop, or raising poultry or livestock? The fertilizer is probably not valuable. You can choose one." The county magistrate was still thinking about what happened during the day. Ru Meng came and left in a hurry. How come he had never heard of such a great ability? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came to lead the river, but why did they not do anything? Only Commandery Prince Tang, and came to build a few workshops. Did he really intend to wait until the local people wanted to lead the river? Hearing the county magistrate's voice, the county magistrate looked at the changing moonlight in the water and replied, "Sir, I think it's better to let Baoxin County lead the river away. Since there are workshops in our county, there will be many people willing to come. The number of people will be enough to be promoted to Shaanxi County. We don't have to worry about people running to Baoxin County. I asked you which place to choose, not whether to lead the river or not. What if it can be promoted to Shaanxi County? The two of them dared to teach me a lesson in front of my face. How can I take this lying down? I don't believe that they dare to kill me directly, and I don't believe that they can bribe the people in the court to deal with me, a 7th-rank official. If they really do that, how will the people see the Zhang family and Wang family? Don't tell me that it's necessary to kill people because of political disagreements? Feng Changgong said eloquently. The county magistrate really thought so. He didn't think that the other party would take action because of political differences. It was because there were many things in Xiankai County that the other party couldn't stand. For example, the other party clearly proposed a good idea to improve the lives of the people, but the county magistrate just agreed. For example, that day at the riverside, the Yamen runner tried to buy the fish by force with very little money. The way the Zhang family and Wang family acted always gave people the impression that they loved the people like their own children. What they couldn't stand the most was other officials who didn't sincerely work for the people. They could say that they were meddling in other people's business to gain a good reputation, or that they were removing obstacles in the development of Baoxin County. In the end, they wouldn't be kind easily. The county magistrate wanted to retreat. The more Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't react fiercely, the more uncertain he was. It wasn't good to be too calm. So he kindly advised, "Sir, why don't you discuss with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and ask them what they should do with the original idea? After all, it can make the lives of the people in the county better, and it can also give you some political achievements." There's no need to mention this anymore. Political achievements? Don't tell me you don't have enough political achievements now? No matter how much you have, you won't be able to become a provincial governor. According to my estimation, after the two of us turn Xiankai into a county, we can go to the provincial government to work after paying a tax. Tomorrow, I'll write a letter to the capital and ask around. Do you still have enough money? Feng Changgong didn't want to continue discussing the matter that troubled him, so he wanted to ask his backer. The county magistrate had a pained expression on his face. Yes, I've prepared 1,000 strings of coins and a gift worth 500 strings of coins. The account has just been settled, but it hasn't been completely corrected yet. I'm worried that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will write a petition to impeach and the imperial court will send people to check the account. They're all dead people. Can the imperial court's people come down the next day? Quickly correct it. If it really can't be done, let people immediately open up a new piece of land and use the new land to clear the old account. Find your own people to occupy the land and cooperate with Prince Tang, and to plant soybeans and sesame seeds. Let them send the money up first. Don't feel bad about the small amount of money. If you give them 1,000 strings of coins, you'll get 10,000 strings of coins in return. If you weren't willing to spend the money back then, would you and I have run to Xiankai County to become officials? When you and I came here, there were more than 3,000 people in Xiankai County. Now only a few years have passed and you can be promoted again. If you don't give money, do you think you can be promoted so quickly? Feng Changgong began to educate the county magistrate. County Magistrate Ma knew that he couldn't quit even if he wanted to. When he first started his career, he wanted to let his family have a better life. With a little bit of money, he could buy more land and didn't have to worry about food, clothing, and housing. Who knew that he would have to take out the money he earned again and again? All the money was used to send gifts. He was promoted, but he didn't keep the money. There were too many things on his plate and he couldn't get rid of them. He could only hope that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who he offended this time, wouldn't find out. Seeing that the county magistrate didn't say anything and just lowered his head, Feng Changgong said again, "Before you leave, make another sum of money. This time you don't have to give it away. See how Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan do business. Learn from them when you go elsewhere. In the future, it won't be easy to make money when you work for others." In fact, County Magistrate Ma had been secretly complaining for a long time. If he didn't give the money to others at the beginning and let his family do business, he would have a lot of money now. In the place where he was an official, he couldn't lose money under his care. Hearing that he didn't have to take money from the account in the future, he was relieved. He only hoped to leave as soon as possible. It was uncomfortable to be too close to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The construction of the construction site was in full swing. Children who couldn't sleep also came out to see the scene. Children liked places where it was still bright at night. By the way, they could drink some hot soup specially prepared for the workers instead of boiling water. If anyone was thirsty, they could come and drink a bowl of it. Even if the egg flowers in the soup had been broken into pieces and the vegetables were mostly wild vegetables, children still liked to drink it because they couldn't not add oil and salt when boiling the soup. There was also spicy ginger. Children ate the soup like snacks. To children, they could drink the soup, see the busy adults, and see the fire swaying in the wind. For children, this was happiness, simple and unforgettable. The rumbling sound of the horses' hooves covered the children's laughter. More than a dozen children stopped and looked in the direction of the sound of the horses' hooves. Their eyes were full of curiosity, but they were not afraid at all. As the sound of the horses' hooves was getting closer and closer, the first to react was Li Sun's guards. 100 people surrounded Li Sun, who was enjoying the night scenery. More people mounted their horses and picked up their weapons. They divided into 3 groups and opened up the distance. The first group of 100 people rode their horses slowly to meet the horses. The second group of 200 people separated into 2 groups and slowly rode their horses in circles, ready to charge. The third group stood still and waited for orders. Chapter 720. As the sound rang out, the other party's horses stopped one after another. They put on a defenseless appearance, allowing Li Sun's 100 cavalrymen at the front to approach. A very handsome person rushed out from the group. He was wearing a light yellow brocade robe and was riding a large red horse. He looked at Li Sun's 100 cavalrymen enviously and asked, "Where's my 5th brother?" "So it's the 6th Marquis. Young master has just finished dinner and is enjoying the fire by the river. 6th Marquis, please come this way." The leader of Li Sun's 100 cavalrymen looked at the person who came down and cupped his hands in salute. He pulled on the reins and led the way. "Follow behind. Don't disturb the people." The person on the horse ordered and urged his horse to follow behind the cavalryman. Li Sun was planning to stay a little longer and eat the other 2 boxes when his stomach was a little empty. There was a pile of charcoal beside him to heat up. Hearing the noise, he stood up and looked over. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also came out with 100 crossbowmen gathered around them. They were originally going to help Li Sun's cavalrymen hold the line and shoot at the enemy's middle and rear, or wait for the cavalrymen to turn around and help suppress the enemy. It seemed that they were not going to be needed. "You 2 finished eating too?" "My 6th brother. I don't know how he found us and I don't know what he's doing." When Li Sun saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he made a puzzled expression. In fact, he wasn't afraid even if he didn't know who was coming. He had 600 cavalrymen, and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had more than 200 people around them. With more than 100 people lying in ambush with Wang Wan's leadership skills, even if the enemy had 10,000 people, they wouldn't be able to hurt him. Some of the 600 cavalrymen had once fought with Wang Wan in Tubo. "You know Li Ji? He came here in the middle of the night," Zhang Xiaobao said as he looked at the people who were no longer working on the construction site. Instead, they were picking up various tools and preparing to provide support. "He probably misses me. I don't think he's short of money. Last time during his birthday celebration, I gave him 10,000 strings of cash. He said that he used it to do business. Now he's also a county magistrate. Oh, he's also a consul in the army of Ciizhou. Unless he loses money." Li Sun really didn't know why his younger brother, who was no longer his biological younger brother, was here. At this time, Li Yu had already arrived nearby on his horse. When he saw his brother, he jumped off his horse and almost fell. He happily went up to Li Sun and said, "5th brother, I haven't eaten yet. Is there anything to eat?" "Just 2 boxes. I'll make do with it." After saying that, he didn't stand on ceremony. He reached out and picked up a box that was only a little warm. He opened his mouth and ate it. He chewed hard a few times and stuffed the whole box into his mouth. He stretched his neck and swallowed it. Then, he poured the remaining half of the soup into his stomach. He picked up a cucumber and asked, "5th brother, where did you find this cook? It's delicious. What's in the box?" "It has a faint spicy smell of scallions, but it's different from scallions. It's slightly better, a little earthy. It's fresh. Why don't you lend it to me for a while?" "It's cold. Wait first. I'll bring it to you later. Here, it's made by this one." Zhang Xiaobao. The one next to him is Wang Wan. If you can bring it back, let them make it for you every day. Li Sun also liked this younger brother very much. Unfortunately, he was only a younger brother in private. If he was in the capital or in public, he could only be a younger cousin. Who asked him to be adopted? Even though he was clearly related, he couldn't casually say that. Li Yu was still immersed in the delicious taste of the box. When he heard his brother's words, he didn't even think about it and said, Zhang Xiaobao Wang Wan, right? You two come with me. How much do you want? As long as you can take out 10% of this official's family's wealth. Marquis Li, eat slowly. This official still has more in my tent. Marquis Li, do you want to dip it in sauce? With sweet sauce it'll taste even better. When Zhang Xiaobao heard someone say that the food he made was delicious, he was also happy. He played along with Li Yu. Quickly bring it over. Good cooking. How much is 10% of your family's wealth? Li Yu picked up the other box. This time he couldn't bear to eat it all directly. He took small bites and asked as he ate. Roughly 10% of my family's income is from the business between the clouds and the water. The turnover for the first half of this year hasn't been reported yet. We'll know in June. Marquis Li still has to wait for a while. Zhang Xiaobao really did drag Wang Wan to get the box for Li Yu. Li Sun's younger brother had arrived and hadn't eaten yet. They couldn't let him starve. Okay, let's go get it first. Fifth brother, I'll tell you a piece of good news. There's a big business in my county. People from the Chamber of Commerce have taken a fancy to a piece of land in my county. They say they want to occupy it and then develop it. But, Fifth brother, who were those two just now? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? Between the clouds and the water? Those two are Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? Fifth brother, why didn't you tell me earlier? This is bad. Xiaobao cuckoo, wait for me. I don't need you two to be my cooks. I really don't need you two. As Li Yu was talking, he suddenly realized something. He complained to his brother and wanted to catch up with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Li Sun pulled Li Yu back and said helplessly, they went to get something for you to eat. Why are you in such a hurry to come here? They didn't even eat their fill. Fifth brother, the two of them personally cooked? I just said I wanted to buy them into the family, but they won't lower themselves to your level. Tonight's dinner was cooked by Xiaobao. Go on, how big is your business over there? Li Sun stopped Li Yu, who was about to follow him, and asked. Actually, it's not that big. Compared to you, fifth brother, it's not big enough. Last time, fifth brother gave me 10,000 strings of cash, and I used it all to do business. This time I'm going to invest in it again. They said. Fifth brother, let's wait for Zhang Xiaobao to come back. I wanted to talk to you directly, but since he's here, why don't we listen together? Li Yu was about to talk about the business when he suddenly stopped. He was going to wait for Zhang Xiaobao to come over. Li Sun immediately knew what this younger brother meant. He said with some dissatisfaction, yes, if there's no one else, you come to me. If there's someone else, you come to me. You know how powerful Xiaobao is, right? No, I didn't mean that. Then I'll talk to you first, fifth brother. Li Yu quickly denied. Li Yu started talking, but he didn't talk about the business. He talked about something else. Fifth brother, I really admire you. This time I brought 300 cavalry with me, but when faced with your 100 cavalry, I lost my momentum. The second echelon behind you that is preparing to charge hasn't come up yet. If they come up, even if I have 3,000 men, I won't be able to win. Fifth brother, tell me, how do you train your soldiers? They give off the feeling of being on the battlefield. The archers here are not bad either. Just now I heard the faint sound of strings being pulled. My guard captain told me that just by hearing the sound you can tell how powerful the archers are. They pull the strings continuously but not hurriedly. They pull the strings in an orderly manner. He said that during war the scariest thing to hear is this kind of sound, because in the next moment, you'll be covered by a neat rain of arrows. This kind of rain of arrows can form a formation. When he heard the praise, Li Sun was also happy. Wei Wei nodded. The ones rushing out in front are all soldiers who have fought against Tubo outside the pass. The archers are Wang Wan's guards. Even if you have 30,000 soldiers for fun and hunting, not to mention 3,000, even if I pass the command to Wang Wan, you can't do anything. Of course. Who doesn't know about Cuckoo? The Tubo people call her Demon Fiend, but we call her Ghost Fox in private. She moves like the wind and comes and goes without a trace. Fifth brother, what are you doing here? Liu flattered again. His eyes were fixed on the direction Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had left, and he asked about the situation at the construction site again. At this time, the people at the construction site had already gone back to work. Many people actually hoped that the enemy would come from another country. Of course, this kind of thinking was stupid. If the enemy could come here, how many places would have been penetrated by the enemy? They wanted to see how Wang Wan would lead the troops to kill the enemy until they threw away their armor. Seeing that the alarm was lifted, and it was said that the enemy was another member of the royal family. Knowing that the fight would not happen, they went back to their positions and did what they were supposed to do. I have a stake in the business of 4 workshops here, so I came to take a look. I haven't seen Xiaobao and Cuckoo for a long time. It's strange. What's the big business you mentioned just now? Li Sun didn't think that his younger brother would know the details, so he casually answered and asked again. Liu's eyes were still fixed on the direction Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had left. Hearing his brother's question, he responded and then asked again, Fifth brother, is the workshop here proposed by Zhang Xiaobao? I don't know if my Chongning County can learn from it. Then you have to give me the map. Tell me what you have there. Can't all patterns be copied to other places? Is there a big business? Tell me specifically. Map? Yes, I have a few copies. I also know about the things there. Fifth brother, can you let me have a stake in the business here? I won't make trouble and just wait to collect the money. What do you think? Think about it in your own county. Once the business of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family is launched, they don't need other people to have a stake in it, unless they ask others before doing it. It's very risky. Anyone who hesitates will lose the opportunity. Next time when they have a business, I'll tell you and you can take out the money. Li Sun finally understood. His younger brother didn't want to talk about the big business with him alone, and kept interrupting. Then there was no need to ask. After all, his business skills were not as good as Zhang Xiaobao's. Even his own younger brother didn't trust him. Liu nodded happily. Fifth brother, don't worry. When the time comes, I won't ask if it can make money or how. I'll just take the money. When the time comes, I'll take whatever they give me. They're back. Why did they take so long? At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appeared outside the tent. Zhang Xiaobao was holding a plate with something steaming on it. He came closer and put down the plate. There were a few boxes, a bowl of soup, 2 small pickles, and a little sweet sauce. He said to Liu, it's just done. It's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. 6th Marquis, try it. We'll talk about the matter of entering the manor later. Chapter 721. What kind of business? Zhang Xiaobao was puzzled. How big was the business that Liu needed to come to his brother? Was he short of money? Did he need more than 100,000 strings of cash or hundreds of thousands of strings of cash? Brother Wu, do you have any tea? You can have some tea first. I'll tell you as I eat. And the 300 people I brought haven't eaten yet. Liu was indeed hungry. He hadn't eaten at noon and had rushed all the way here. After eating 2 boxes, he found that he was even hungrier and wanted to eat first. Zhang Xiaobao nodded to the people from the inner courtyard beside him, and the people from the inner courtyard went to prepare the food. In the middle of the night, the workers still had supper, so the people who had been invited were in charge of cooking. The 3 of them didn't drink tea. Zhang Xiaobao held a glass of juice, Li Sun held a glass of wine, and Wang Wan sat and listened with a cup of hot milk in her hand. Seeing that his subordinates were arranged, Liu ate a box and felt much better. Hot food was better than cold food. He said to the 3 of them, when I was the county magistrate of Chongning County, a chamber of commerce called Qianshi Chamber of Commerce suddenly came. They were willing to pay 50,000 strings of cash to do business in the county. However, they didn't have land and didn't want to buy it. They said that they didn't have much money now. They told me that they planned to build a large-scale pottery distribution center in the county. At the same time, they could use the local iron or to study new pottery processing techniques. As long as they did it, they could increase the tax of Chongning County by 50% a year later and solve the problem of jobs for the 300 people who couldn't find jobs. 2 years later, they could double the tax of Chongning County through their vigorous publicity and market operation. 3 years later, through the form of a joint venture. Through the form of a joint venture, you can widely distribute sales outlets and carry out some kind of brand effect. You can double the tax revenue of Chongning County again, and form a long-term, effective and reasonable utilization model. Every local family can go upstairs and benefit from it, right? Before Li Yu finished, Wang Wan added. She then said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Classic, it's really classic. I suddenly have a feeling of transcending time and space." Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything and waited for Li Yu to continue. Li Meng's mouth was half open as he looked at Wang Wan in shock. With an expression of disbelief, he asked, "How did you know?" "I know a lot, so this is nothing. The other party's level can be said to be at the beginner's level. It's not easy." Sixth Marquis, please continue. Wang Wan and Wei Wei smiled. She raised the cup to her mouth and sipped. Li Yu also took a sip of the soup. Something like that. That's what they meant. They said that their people were very good at organizing and could sell the worthless things at a high price. They told me not to worry because the things in Chongning were valuable and could only be better, not worse. I thought it was good, so I prepared to let them do the business and was willing to invest 10,000 strings of cash. I had already earned 12,000 strings of cash from the money fifth brother gave me. Since it was a business in the capital, I didn't have to worry about it anymore. But they also said that it wasn't enough because they needed a very large site for research, production, mining and storage for materials. They said that if they wanted to make money quickly, they needed to invest 100,000 strings of cash in the early stage. They asked me to find a way to pull some people in. As long as they had 100,000 strings of cash, they could start the business. Moreover, they said that the people who invested money could make a profit in 1 year and get their capital back in 2 years. Their place couldn't be moved, so I didn't have to worry about them cheating people. But there was one thing. They didn't have enough money to buy the land, so they hoped to find someone who could cooperate with them, or directly invest the land in the government office. Nowadays, people talk about shares. The land shares account for 20% of the shares, which is 25,000 strings of cash. According to the price, they must have such a large land. I'm short of money. No matter what, I can't gather 50,000 strings of cash. So, I'm looking for you to discuss and see if you can invest some money. Just 30,000 strings of cash will do. I'll just gather the rest. At the same time, I want to ask fifth brother if this deal is possible. After saying this, Li Yu looked at Zhang Xiaobao. He didn't look at his fifth brother because he felt that Zhang Xiaobao's words were more credible. Although 50,000 strings of cash was a lot for him, it was too easy for his fifth brother and Zhang Xiaobao. They could even take out so much money to build a canal. Zhang Xiaobao was too lazy to talk about this kind of thing. He glanced at Wang Wan, indicating for Wang Wan to continue. Wang Wan put down the cup and said to Li Yu, "Eat your food. I'll tell you slowly. Listen carefully. First, I want to ask you if there is iron in Chongning County. Can it be used to make pottery?" "Yes, there is a lot of iron and clay. Yes, there is a kiln there." Li Yu, who took a bite of the box, said with food in his mouth, "How much land can you buy with 25,000 strings of cash?" Wang Wan asked again. "The land there is expensive now. It's close to the capital. You can buy 5,000 mu for upper fields, 8,000 mu for middle fields, and even more for lower fields. Depends on the place. You can buy 20,000 mu in a bad place, but Chongning County can't afford such a large land. It's not easy." Li Yu answered again. He felt that something was wrong. Otherwise, why would Wang Wan say this? Wang Wan nodded. "It's okay if you can't afford it. You can take as much as you can. Also, you can allow them to mine the local mineral resources and other things. Then, the amount they mine will be included in the county's investment. However, the county can't use this money as dividends unless it's the profit from selling auxiliary products. Only then will the county have a part of it. When the county has enough money with resources, it can participate in the dividends of direct products again. Then you won't be in a difficult position." "How do you know?" "That's what they told me. They also said that in this way, The people in the county can benefit from the labor in the early stage. However, they said that the county has to share part of the wages. Also, if they want to expand in the future, they will adjust the shares, which is the increase of shares after financing. I don't quite understand. Liu felt that he made the right choice to come this time. If he didn't know that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan really came to Chongning to do business, he would have thought that the Millennium Chamber of Commerce was sent by the two of them. It was amazing that they guessed it before he finished speaking. And the person who guessed it wasn't Zhang Xiaobao, who was the best, but Zhang Xiaobao's little wife Wang Wan. According to the popular saying, this was called a non-professional's understanding of the professional field. If she could guess it, what would Zhang Xiaobao do? Thinking of this, Liu stopped eating and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, hoping that he could say something. Zhang Xiaobao said helplessly, "You can ask Cuckoo about this kind of simple thing. The so-called increase of shares after financing is that you put in a copper coin and I put in a copper coin. Not counting the management shares, which are paid separately, I suddenly put in 3 copper coins. Then, you will get 20% of the dividends from the original half. If I get 8 copper coins, you will get 10%. There are a lot of things in this, but what they mentioned is the simplest one. Normally, even if you really get 50,000 strings of cash, you can't get 60% of the shares. At that time, they will mention 2 points. One is the technology investment, and the other is the management investment. In the absence of a fair evaluation organization, the importance of technology needs to be observed through the reaction of the market. That is, the sales ratio between the products produced by the original technology and those produced by the new technology. But this is divided into short-term income and expenditure and long-term income and expenditure. There is a problem of market trends and saturation, so it is very difficult to judge. It is the same for management, especially in the area of sales and promotion. Normal sales channels and new sales channels can be compared. At this time, there is a problem, the problem of supervision. Without the management of various auxiliary departments, any surface profits can be changed by abnormal operation patterns. Therefore, the plan itself is full of loopholes. If they are kinder, Chongning County can exist as a free raw material supply base in the future, but it can also provide new jobs for the people. You can't just send troops to kill them. Of course, you have to have the right to send troops and a reasonable excuse. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, he sat there and drank his juice. Wang Wan looked calm, as if she already knew this. Liu and Li Sun were dumbfounded. They didn't understand. What a mess. They just wanted to make money. Why did so many things happen when shares were mentioned? It was too troublesome. Li Sun thought he had learned enough from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Today he found that he still had to learn. When he cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to do business, he didn't need to do so much. He just needed to invest some money, or he didn't even need to take any money. He just needed to help with the connections and government orders. Then he could wait to receive a lot of money. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have anyone to help him improve technology, management and sales. Now that he was in a different place and with different people, it was different. Thinking of this, Li Sun put down the wine glass in his hand and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. He said, "Xiaobao, your business with me. Let's not talk about this. You don't check the accounts and we don't plan to cheat you. Why are the rules so strict? It's just that the 6th marquee business is not easy. Who knows what the other party is thinking?" Zhang Xiaobao didn't let Li Sun continue. If he really counted, Li Sun had helped Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan a lot during their most difficult times. That kind of wealth was immeasurable. Therefore, it was not money but friendship. Although Li Sun always wanted to take advantage of him, he and Wang Wan always tricked him. Liu also understood that the business in his county was a scam. Xiaobao and Cuckoo knew the whole story. It seemed that they had known about this kind of scam for a long time, but they didn't want to use it. The more Liu thought about it, the angrier he became. It was not easy to get a business deal, but he was still tricked. Liu slammed the table. "Do you really think that my identity as a member of the imperial clan is fake? Brother, lend me some cavalry. I'll kill my way back." As he spoke, Liu stood up with a belly full of anger. He wanted to rush back through the night. "Stop right there. Do you want to use your identity to manage economic matters? You're not an administrative person. That only shows that you are incompetent. Economic attacks must be solved with economic means. Unless you admit defeat, Then you can use administrative means to intimidate and pressure with your identity, Xiao Bao. Seeing his brother act so impulsively, Li Sun was also angry. He scolded his brother and turned to Zhang Xiaobao. Cooperation 50,000 strings of cash. The sixth marquis will pay 10,000 strings of cash, Cuckoo and I will pay 20,000, and the other 20,000. Zhang Xiaobao agreed and looked back at Li Sun. Chapter 722. Knowing that Zhang Xiaobao was willing to help, Li Yu finally felt relieved. He didn't believe that anyone could beat Zhang Xiaobao in this aspect. Smiling at Zhang Xiaobao in a friendly manner, Li Yu said, "After we make money, all the business in Chongning County will belong to you, Xiaobao. You can do whatever you want. I won't stop you. You should keep it for yourself. Don't always give it to me. I just want a little. The ceramic industry in Ciizhou must be integrated. There must be at least 3 factories. They must share the technology with each other, but they must compete with each other. We can't have small kills everywhere. Those with money have no technology, and those with technology have no money. Let's not care about the iron. The imperial court is very strict. They are afraid that it will be used to make weapons. You'd better find someone to guard the iron. Don't let it leak out. We can slowly refine it when the time comes." Zhang Xiaobao just wanted to help. He didn't care too much about Li Yu. If he treated Li Yu as well as before, more people in the royal family would come to him. When the time came, he didn't want to be involved in the political whirlpool of the throne. That's good. Wei Wei felt a little regretful. He really wanted to pull Zhang Xiaobao over and make a large-scale investment there. He thought that with Zhang Xiaobao's ability and way of doing things, he could make the place prosperous quickly. Since he couldn't pull him, he could only give up. He lowered his head and began to eat. The box which he thought tasted good now tasted even better. Looking at the night sky, the people working on the shore, and the children laughing and playing, Li Yu's mouth curved up. The night lingered. Early the next morning, Li Yu couldn't sleep. He got up and walked around. He looked at the situation of the construction site and asked about the details. Considering the popularity of the set breeding in his hometown, he decided to go back and continue to work on it. He also wanted to find food crops that were beneficial to the development of his hometown. Zhang Xiaobao also opened his eyes. After wiping his face with cold water, he woke up and began to make breakfast for Wang Wan. Ever since he found that Wang Wan was not in a good mood, Zhang Xiaobao felt that he had to cook by himself recently. For breakfast today, he decided to make 8 treasures congee, which was mainly made of millet with a lot of red dates. The main dish would be red pond bean dumplings, with a lot of sesame seeds. He would also fry 3 medium-rare poached eggs, and 2 kinds of salty pickles that were mixed with sesame oil. As for Li Yu and Li Sun, he just asked someone to send them some salted vegetables. There were still fried fruits and soy milk outside, so he just had to make do with it. Wang Wan slept for a while, then got up. She stretched herself, yawned, and came down to freshen up. She asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Are we going to write a petition to impeach Feng Changgong today?" "No, we'll wait until Zhang Shuang's people come. At that time we'll just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Let them argue with each other. Instead of taking the initiative to help them and making them doubt us, it's better to wait for them to come to us and take the initiative to discuss with us. I believe they all understand that whoever can win us over will have more weight in the balance." Zhang Xiaobao placed the food on the table one by one and sat there to reply. After freshening up, Wang Wan sat opposite Zhang Xiaobao. She looked at the food and smiled at Zhang Xiaobao. "I didn't want to eat at first, but when I saw that you made such a good breakfast, I have an appetite again. Look at you, why did you have to make the steamed bean dumplings look like a panda? Next time, remember to make them look like a koala bear. Should we go back? If we don't see Baoxin County with our own eyes, I'll be worried. After all, that's our first administrative place. Yes, we'll go back tomorrow after we finish writing the proposal for Li Yu. We don't need to stay in Baoxin County anymore. Let's go back and see if the honeycomb coal is good to burn." Zhang Xiaobao pushed a bowl of porridge with many dates to Wang Wan. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Do you want to make a waist protection with mink fur?" "No, I'm not that delicate. Isn't there a lot of coal in Chongning County? We can directly smelt iron there. Let Liu have a try. He can first turn the coal into coke, then smelt it. Think of a way to blow the coal into the furnace. Who said that steel has to be refined 100 times? Wang Wan ate a jujube with a face full of happiness. She picked up a fried egg with salt and said. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were enjoying breakfast, Liu, who was eating with others outside, felt very uncomfortable. After eating a big fruit, he felt that it was too hard and complained to Li Sun. Fifth brother, why didn't you eat breakfast with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? Don't they make the best food? Li Sun glanced at him and said, since yesterday, Wang Wan has been a little uncomfortable, so Xiaobao didn't have time to talk to us. Eat the big fruit and soy milk are also good. Why don't you eat vegetable buns and tofu pudding? People should know how to be content. The county magistrate here, Feng Changgong, is not content. He doesn't eat what the people can eat. As a result, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are angry and want to teach him a lesson. It won't take long before he is finished. I haven't seen anyone who can escape from the two of them. Really? Isn't it too fake? Just because the county magistrate doesn't eat ordinary food, the two of them want to teach him a lesson. The world is so big. Can they teach him a lesson? Liu had a strange feeling. Why did other people have to listen to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? The world is big. Don't be afraid. What you are afraid of is that you will meet them someday. Don't let them meet you. Once they meet you, you are finished. You can't reason in front of them. What they say is the truth. Li Sun continued to scare his brother, hoping that he would eat more. Liu didn't know that the conflict was not so simple. He thought that it was true and hurried to eat. He was afraid that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would remember him. If that happened, it would be difficult to do business in Chongning County. After drinking 3 bowls of soy milk in a row and eating only 1 big fruit, Liu was full. He didn't know who fried the big fruit, but when he ate it, it was astringent. He guessed that it was because there was too much alum. The taste was not comparable to the box he ate last night. Li Sun was not picky. After all, he had participated in the wilderness survival training. Although it was a simplified version, he had suffered a lot. It was good enough to have something to eat. There was no need to be picky. After eating 3 big fruits, drinking a bowl of soy milk without sugar, and half a piece of stinky tofu, he rubbed his stomach and burped comfortably. Then he said to his brother, looks like I'll have to teach you what it means to survive in the wild. You haven't seen Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. When the two of them arrived at Luzhou, they only had a saber with them. They didn't have any other supplies. Life was tough. They couldn't even sleep well at night. You should cherish them. Many people can't even eat big fruits. Liu had never suffered much. Even when he had no money, he was 100 times better than many people in terms of food and clothing. When he heard his brother mention wilderness survival, he asked curiously, isn't it a vacation? Fifth brother, aren't we traveling? You've already booked the 100,000 mountains. How can you still suffer? Besides, you should compete with others who are better than you. Why should you compete with others who are worse than you? I'm not asking you to compete. I'm asking you to experience it. How about this? I'll make a training plan for you later. You follow the plan. When the time comes, I'll find time to visit you. If you can't do it well, I'll ask Xiaobao to take away all your money. Do you dare to punish him with your identity as a member of the royal family? Li Sun had his own thoughts, and he wanted his brother to know that it was not a matter of money. He had a lot of money, but he did not spend much on his daily life. At least he did not enjoy much. Most of the money he spent was used to train the army. Liu listened to his brother's words and nodded helplessly. Then I can't. It'll be very hard at the beginning. I have to get used to it bit by bit. If it really doesn't work out, I'll use all my money to buy land. I'm not afraid of other people's tricks. When he said this, Liu was not confident. He knew that if Zhang Xiaobao really did do something to him, it was useless to rely on his identity. Tell Imperial Uncle? That's good. Uncle will question me first. Then you can try. See if you can avoid Zhang Xiaobao's scheme by buying land. Eat a fruit. What's the use of drinking so much soy milk? You'll be hungry again after a while. Zhang Xiaobao will probably tell you what to do when you go back today. Remember, I think Zhang Xiaobao's plan has 3 options. The first is the best plan, which is to directly deal with the opponent. The second is the middle plan, which is to play along with the opponent and make them lose more. The third is the worst plan, which is to not take the initiative to attack and leave the opponent a way out, giving the opponent a chance to choose. This is especially true when the opponent is from Great Tang. When you're given the choice, you have to choose the worst strategy and give the other party a few more chances to start over. Don't kill them all in one go. If you do that, it's easy to change your mind in the future. Take Xian Kai County's County Magistrate Feng Changgong for example. In fact, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had given him more than one chance. If he thinks it through, go find Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and have a good talk. Both of them will stop. What people fear most is stubbornness. When Li Sun told his brother to eat more, he suddenly thought of something important and hurriedly told his brother. Li Yu unhappily picked up a large fruit and put it next to his mouth, not wanting to open it. After hearing his brother's words, he put the fruit down. Seeing his brother glare at him, he could only raise it and ask, "Why don't you kill them with one blow and leave them behind? If it were me, I wouldn't give them any chance." If that's the case, they'll have a wishful thinking and still dare to oppose them in the future. And most will just compromise and stop fighting. We should be merciless. What do you know? That depends on who you're dealing with. Have you been merciful to the Tubo people? It's not easy to think of such a plan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan want to keep the talent. Don't think that it's the worst plan, they'll always give them a chance. However, if the other party can't think it through, they'll be like Feng Changgong, and it'll be difficult to keep their lives. The more chances they give, the more vicious the plan will be. Listen to me and use the worst plan. If they still refuse to accept it, what awaits them is a bottomless abyss. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family have always been like this. If you don't believe me, take a look. Especially Xiaobao, he kills without spilling blood. Do you understand? Understood. I'll eat it now. Li Yu was frightened. He suddenly felt that the taste of the fruit was not bad. After eating, Zhang Xiaobao began to write a plan. Just like Li Sun, it was divided into 3 plans. He gave Li Yu the freedom to choose. In the worst plan, there were many chances for the other party to break free. It all depended on what the other party thought. Wang Wan began to prepare things that she might need. She also paid attention to keeping warm and tried to calm her emotions. She reminded herself not to bring her bad mood to work. When it was almost noon, Zhang Xiaobao prepared a meal. He left a portion for himself and Wang Wan, and asked someone to give the rest to Li Yu and Wang Wan. The plan was not finished yet. It was very troublesome. It was estimated that it would be finished at night. The people working were still as diligent as before. For the sake of their future lives and to allow their families to obtain more resources, they worked hard without complaint. Everyone was very calm. If there was someone who could not calm down, it would be Feng Changgong. Last night, he had also seen a group of cavalrymen coming over. After asking around, he found out that it was Prince Li Xian's 6th son, Li Yu, who had come to visit his older brother, Li Sun. He could only see Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan and Li Sun together from a distance, but he did not know what they were talking about. In the past few days, he had always felt a threat by his side, but he could not figure out the reason. After seeing Li Yu last night, this feeling became stronger. As a result, he could not sleep the whole night. Even if he drank some wine and lay on the bed dizzily, he still could not fall asleep. As long as he closed his eyes, he would have nightmares. He could only open his eyes and ask someone to light the wormwood to drive away the mosquitoes. He opened the window and looked at the starry sky outside. When it was time for breakfast, he also got up. He did not have any appetite. After drinking a bowl of porridge, he could not eat anymore. It was the same at noon. He did not feel hungry. It seemed that he would be full even if he did not eat anything. The more he thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. He had no choice but to send a letter to the capital, hoping that there would be news soon. At this time, people had already set off from the capital. Cui Riji and Li Linfu took a boat to the south. Normally, when going to a place to work, they would need to bring along their family, but neither of them did. On this point, the two of them had the same idea. They would not stay long when they arrived at Xinsai County. One of them came specifically to investigate the old debts of Xinsai County, while the other came to find a way to stop it. It was a very simple matter. When the time came, it would depend on who was more powerful. The boat that the two of them took was from the Jingshui Boat Company. It would save them a lot of trouble if they were together. However, for the two of them, going to work together was the real trouble. In fact, Cui Riji looked down on Li Linfu from the bottom of his heart. He thought that his ability was too weak. However, he felt that Li Linfu was different from the person he had seen before. He did not dare to offend him easily. After all, he was now the county magistrate, while Li Linfu was the registrar. Although his position was high, the registrar also had the responsibility of supervision. If he found that the county magistrate did something wrong, the registrar could submit a report to the higher-ups, either to impeach him or to clarify the matter. Cui Riji definitely did not believe that Li Linfu would forgive him after he made a mistake. Moreover, when he submitted the report, he would not send it to the prefecture, but directly to the capital. At that time it would be difficult for him to do anything. Of course, he could also supervise the registrar and directly submit the report to the capital. Thinking about what he had to do in the future and what he had to do well, Cui Riji could not stay still. He went to the bow of the boat and asked someone to bring him a chair to sit there. While feeling the river breeze on his head, he thought about the matter in his heart. He was also a third-ranked official, and he had people who specialized in strategizing at home. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for him to not bring someone with him when he went out. In order to better deal with the situation in Xiankai County, he brought along the advisor he felt was the best in the manner. When he sat at the bow of the boat, the advisor also moved a stool and sat beside him. They looked at the water together. It was unknown what the two of them saw in the water, but they didn't move at all. After a long time, Cui Riji sighed and said, "The water in this river always flows to the east. It has not changed since ancient times. However, the water that flows into this river does not necessarily flow from west to east. Most of it flows from east to west and then flows into the Yellow River. Do you think it flows to the east or to the west?" Cui Riji did not know why he said such a thing. After saying it, he realized that even he did not know which was better. After hearing Cui Riji's words, the advisor fell into deep thought. After a short while he said, "That depends on what it flows to. If it has to enter the sea, then it flows from west to east. If it can't even see the sea, then it doesn't matter how it flows. After all, it needs to join a river. If it doesn't want to join, then it's not big enough. In the end, it will end up like a river in the desert. Today it flows like this and tomorrow it will flow like this. In the end, it won't even leave a name. It is a pity. Since it has chosen a river, then no matter how it flows, it will be fine as long as it flows to the other side. As for where it will flow in the future, just follow the river. Yes, it's fine as long as there is a river. However, it is not easy to follow a big river when there is a lot of water. If we encounter some obstacles, the water from a small river like us will rush to the front. It is very easy for us to collide and not leave behind a corpse." Cui Riji was just complaining that the people above him should not have arranged for him to be here. It was too difficult. Xiankai County was not only a battlefield for both sides to fight for. More importantly, there was also a dangerous place that could not be touched. That was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Regardless of whether he was willing or not, he had to think clearly about how to win over Zhang Xiaobao and Zhang Xiaobao when they arrived at Xiankai County instead of going against them. That would definitely not benefit him in any way. The advisor next to him said, "So what if we collide? We can't always collide with the same river water. As long as we get through it, we can enter the sea together with the big river. Then we won't have to worry about colliding with anything." Cui Riji nodded. At this time he had also thought it through. Just as he was about to say something, a voice came from behind him. "Lord Cui, you are in a good mood. Sitting at the bow, do you feel that the cabin is too hot? I can't stand it. I don't know how their ship is made. I heard that their ship is actually very good. No matter how hot it is very cool to stay in the cabin. This time they did not send such a ship. What a pity, what a pity." Cui Riji did not need to turn around to know who the person was. Just by hearing the familiar voice, he knew that it was Li Linfu. He stood up politely, turned around and said to Li Linfu, "So it is Lord Li. I didn't feel that the cabin was stuffy. I just wanted to come out and get some wind. After all, in the cabin the wind is too weak. Even if I open the window, it is not big enough. It is not as good as the bow. When the wind blows, it is as if I can fly. Others are afraid of the wind, but I am not worried at all. Yes, the wind at the bow is good. Unfortunately, I can't get too much wind. I cry when I am blown too much by the wind. In fact, I want to not be with the wind. But many times I can't help it. If I can stand behind Lord Shui can help me block the wind and rain, that would be even better. Li Linfu followed Cui Riji's words. No matter who looked at him, his face was sincere, making people feel that his words were credible. To be honest, Cui Riji did not know much about Li Linfu. Looking at Li Linfu, Wei Wei was stunned. Then she said, I just said that some water can flow directly into the sea from west to east. Some water has no choice. As long as it can meet a big river, it doesn't matter how it flows. I don't know what Lord Li thinks. Ah, water? Yes, Lord Cui is wise. I didn't think of this. Indeed, as Lord Cui said many times, you can't enter the sea just because you want to. Sigh, I don't know why, but when I heard Lord Cui's words, I felt uncomfortable. Perhaps I am like the small river that can't enter the sea. No matter how hard I try, I can't do it. Forget it, I will flow as I should. If Lord Cui has a better river, please tell me. Maybe you and I can flow together. At that time, I will rely on Lord Cui's help. A trace of helplessness flashed in Li Linfu's eyes. After saying this to Cui Riji, he turned around and was about to leave. After walking a few steps, he suddenly stopped, turned around and said to Cui Riji, I heard that the county magistrate of Exine Kai County, Feng Changgong, has offended His Royal Highness Commandery Prince Tang, and when we get there, I'll cooperate with Lord Cui to teach him a lesson. Commandery Prince Tang, and is not an ordinary person, and he rarely makes mistakes. I think Feng Changgong did it on purpose for his own benefit. After saying this, Li Linfu walked step by step toward the cabin. Cui Riji, who had no connection with fools, was stunned for a while. Then, he suddenly smiled and said to the advisor who had been silent, It seems that Yu Wenrong's side is not very close. Otherwise, why would Li Linfu be willing to surrender? Do you think we should let him do something when we get to Exine Kai County and see how he does it? The advisor raised his eyebrows and his ears twitched. He said, You can't judge a book by its cover. Also, we can't make a decision easily. Fortunately, the journey is long. We can see more in case we choose the wrong person and leave a disaster behind. Chapter 723. 2 days later, Li Yu was preparing to go back. During these 2 days, whenever Zhang Xiaobao showed up, he would follow Zhang Xiaobao and ask him about the details of the 3 plans Zhang Xiaobao gave him. Zhang Xiaobao did not refuse. As long as Li Yu asked, he would answer in detail and give examples so that Li Yu could understand better. Although 2 days were not long, to Li Yu it was like seeing a new world. In the past, he had heard of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's reputation. One could be said to be a scholar and the other a martial artist. Each had their own strengths. Many people said that the scariest thing was not meeting one of them. This was because if you only met one of them, then if the whole country worked together and did not think about taking advantage of them, there might be a way to resist. However, if you really met the 2 of them together, there would be no more chances. This was because the 2 of them grew up together. Their cooperation was called tacit understanding. Some people felt that it was very good to be able to understand each other with just a glance. However, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not even need to look at each other. Even if the 2 of them were separated, they could understand what the other was going to do and cooperate with each other. The most direct feeling was that in the 2 days that they stayed, Wang Wan ran to the riverside at noon on the first day. She did not even say a word before she was with Zhang Xiaobao. When it was time for lunch, Zhang Xiaobao went to prepare something. It was a basin and some salt, but there was nothing else. At this time, Wang Wan ran back and happily told Zhang Xiaobao that she had caught a lot of prawns and wanted to eat salted prawns. Then, she directly put them in the basin and cooked them for everyone to eat. At night, Wang Wan ran to the river again without greeting anyone. She still asked Zhang Xiaobao about the details together. When it was almost time to eat, Zhang Xiaobao went to get some garlic sprouts and eggs. When Wang Wan came back, she said that she still went to catch prawns and wanted to eat dumplings at night. Then Zhang Xiaobao began to use the things he took out to make dumplings. The next day Wang Wan ran out at noon. When she came back, she was carrying a big fish in her hand. Zhang Xiaobao was not around to prepare lunch. After Wang Wan heard that, she put the fish down and found a few children to make mud. When Zhang Xiaobao came out with charcoal, the mud was already ready. Zhang Xiaobao directly poured seasoned wine into the fish's stomach and wrapped it in mud to burn. With such cooperation, there was no need to look at each other. The two people did not need to see each other at all. They did not need to communicate with each other to know what the other was going to do. One was a scholar and the other was a martial artist. This was the real combination of two swords. More importantly, if it was really a scholar and a martial artist, it would be fine. The problem was that Zhang Xiaobao was not bad at martial arts. When they were really close, he always stood from the angle that he could protect Wang Wan the most. At the same time, when talking about military affairs, he was better than himself. Needless to say, Wang Wan was even better. When Zhang Xiaobao was talking about the plan, she would add on from the side and explain the things that she did not know. Who was the one who said that Zhang Xiaobao's martial arts were not good enough, and Wang Wan's literary skills were not good enough? Only by really interacting with the two people could one understand their abilities. Even when talking about academic matters with them, Wang Wan was not worse than Zhang Xiaobao. These two people could not be offended. He felt sorry for Feng Changgong. He could have provoked anyone, but he had to provoke Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Moreover, when there was a way out, he still insisted. When he was about to leave, he actually came to curry favor with him and gave him a gift worth 300 strings of coins. He wanted to bribe him with 300 strings of coins. Why didn't he bribe Zhang Zhong with that much money? There were too many, so many that it was a little scary. Young master, it's already noon. Should we find a place to eat? Just as Li Yu was thinking about Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and felt scared, the guard captain next to him came up and asked. Li Yu broke away from his thoughts just now. He looked at the sky and said, "It's noon so soon? Aren't we going the way we came? Did you see any hotels around when you came?" In reply to young master, "There is no decent restaurant, only a small restaurant. Are we going there? I mean, why don't we change direction, walk a few more steps and find a good restaurant to eat? The food in a small restaurant will definitely not taste good." The guard captain suggested with concern, hoping to walk along the fork in the road ahead and look elsewhere. Li Yu thought for a moment and shook his head. "No need. Go to the restaurant and ask if they can make food for 300 people. Simple food is fine as long as it can fill my stomach. So what if it's a restaurant? Can the food made by the chef there be better than Zhang Xiaobao's? Don't be so picky." Many of Fifth Brother's guards had followed Wang Wan to Tubo to fight. When they were there, they fought with their lives on the line every day. How could they have the time to think about what to eat? Even if it's tree bark, they still have to eat it. Are my soldiers really that bad? I don't dare. I'll send someone to ask. The guard captain really did want to eat something good for himself and his brothers, but after hearing Li Yu's words, he didn't dare to mention it again. He hurriedly ordered someone to ask in advance while he followed behind Li Yu. He secretly decided that when he returned, he would train his subordinates well. Normally, when he met the prefectural army, he would think that they were not bad. After returning to Exine Kai County and seeing Tang and Royal Prince Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's bodyguards, he finally realized how big the gap was. It took him about 3 days to reach Tang and Royal Prince's bodyguards. In the last 2 days, he had a few matches with Tang and Royal Prince's bodyguards. One of them could beat 2, 2 of them could beat 5, and 5 of them could beat 15 of his bodyguards. The more people there were, the better their cooperation. The real competition was between Royal Prince Tang and's guards who didn't follow Wang Wan. Those who passed the test couldn't be bothered to fight with people like him. Those who were unconvinced went to find trouble with him. In the end, it was 5 against 1. 3 of them were knocked unconscious and 2 of their joints were dislocated. The other party still had that kind of disdainful look in his eyes, but no one dared to challenge him anymore. His attacks were too ruthless, and it was completely different from their usual training. Every move he made was a killing move and he fought with his life on the line. When had they ever seen such a thing during training? When 5 people beat him up, he was clearly hit in the face. If it was a normal practice, he would have dodged. However, he took it head-on and paid the price of 2 teeth. He defeated 2 people in one move and acted as if he didn't care. Ruthless, really ruthless. He was ruthless to others and ruthless to himself. This was a fucking person who came back alive from the battlefield. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's guards didn't make a move either. Someone suggested a competition, and the other party made his people sign the life and death agreement. They said that they had never competed with others outside. There would be blood if they fought. The reason was that they weren't skilled enough and couldn't control their weapons freely. These 2 types of people made his people lose so badly that the young master was unhappy. At that time, his face was as dark as water. If he still wanted to eat something good today, he would probably be taught a lesson when he returned. Liu also prepared for this. Embarrassing, it was too embarrassing. If they couldn't beat Fifth Brother's people one-on-one, it was even worse when they worked together. What was the point of having such guards? Did they have to specifically find people who weren't as good as them to fight? What if they had to go outside one day? Did they have to run for their lives? If Fifth Brother's cavalry was led by Wang Wan, they should be the ones running for their lives. He didn't have to say that he was that good, but at least he didn't embarrass himself too much. It turned out that those who were good at hunting might not be good at killing. As he thought about it, Liu felt that he should train his guards on the way back. When the time was right, he would show Fifth Brother that he wasn't bad and was also very hardworking. Li Sun didn't know what his younger brother was thinking. When he sent his younger brother off, he gave him a lot of canned food so that he could eat it when he didn't feel like eating. It wasn't easy to see each other. They were family, but he couldn't show it. This time they were in Xian Kai. If they met in the capital, they would be treated differently. He was the loneliest in a big group of brothers. Fortunately, he met Xiaobao and Cuckoo at that time. Otherwise, he didn't know what would have happened. After sending his younger brother off, Li Sun turned around and found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. At this time, the 2 of them were also planning to leave. Li Sun was reluctant to leave. After thinking for a while, he said, "You guys are going back. Wait for me for a few days. I'll take a look at the situation here and come to your side." That day, someone came to report that honeycomb coal was good. "Why don't you send some to my county? I'll use it too." "Yes, I have to go. There are still things to deal with in the county. Cuckoo is also homesick, so I'll probably have to ask for leave to take her to Luoyang. Honeycomb coal is actually nothing. You can look for coal mines in your county. If you don't have any, you can look around and make your own. It's very simple." Zhang Xiaobao also knew that there was no such thing as a banquet that lasted forever. He solemnly said some words to Li Sun, telling him to speed up the preparations so that they could leave as soon as possible. Wang Wan was getting more and more sleepy recently and always wanted to sleep. They had to go back and let her see her family. At that time, she would be comforted. She would be fine after this period of her menstrual cycle. That night, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan set off to leave, leaving Li Sun alone to continue watching. He wanted to find a pattern that did not follow. "Xiaobao, we won't be sending people gradually. This time Li Linfu will also come. I really want to see what he looks like. It's said that no matter what he faces, he is always so calm, giving people the feeling that he is very sincere and reliable. Then, as long as he has the opportunity, he will take action against people who have a grudge with him. He's very insidious." On the way back, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, "So what if he's insidious? The main thing is that he is very capable. Otherwise, it's useless to rely on insidiousness. What's the point of looking at him? He's just a small official secondary class rank 4. I really don't put him in my eyes. If you give him a chance, he can go up. If you don't give him a chance, he can forget about moving up. If you don't hate him, then suppress him. Even if he is really different from what is written in the book and is a good person, you can still suppress him. Who can this world not revolve without who?" Zhang Xiaobao tried to say something to make Wang Wan happy, so that he could adjust her mood. "That's right. As long as I'm not satisfied with him, no matter who he is, I'll deal with him. But it's best to see when the time comes. If he's really capable, even if I can't let him run to a higher position, I still have to use him. Not all people are good people. Wang Wan was happy as expected. She agreed and proposed to observe Li Linfu carefully. No one was perfect. If the other party was capable, then he could be arranged to a place where he could show his ability. "Okay, I'll listen to you. Are you still sleepy? Why don't you come to my horse? We can walk slowly." Zhang Xiaobao was indifferent. "It's okay. I will be fine in a few days. When the time comes, you can't bully me." Wang Wan was recalling her previous physical condition at this time. She was tired, sleepy, and could eat a lot. "I want to, but I am not as fast as you. No, I have decided to eat more mutton and dog meat when I go back. If there is a need, turtle and ginseng can also be eaten." Zhang Xiaobao urged the horse and said jokingly, "Then you can wait to eat ice cream every day. Don't run so fast. I still want to see the surrounding scenery." Wang Wan also urged the horse to catch up with him. In Buxin County, many people had started to learn how to make honeycomb briquettes. Carriages of briquettes were sent here, and the people made them at home according to the method given by the yamen. Old Man Pai and the other two also made a few by themselves. They were going to use them for barbecue when the time came. They wanted to see if there was any difference between the honeycomb briquettes and charcoal. If it was more delicious, then there would be more reasons to advertise. "I will make a few more holes on the sides of this honeycomb briquettes. This way it will burn faster." Old Man Chong took out the honeycomb briquettes from the pressed mold and used a small wooden stick to continue inserting holes where there were no holes. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao did not have as much free time as Old Man Chong. After the two of them took out the honeycomb briquettes, they looked at each other and did not care about the briquettes anymore. Instead, they talked about the recent events. The imperial court sent Li Linfu and Cui Riji over. One of them is on Zhang Shua's side, and the other is on Yu Wenrong's side. I reckon there will be a good fight when they arrive at Xiankai County. Old Man Pai said to Old Man Yao while washing his hands in the basin. Old Man Yao rubbed some soap on his hands and thought for a while. Actually, it doesn't matter who they send. Feng Changgong is finished. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo really hold a grudge. Even if Yu Wenrong wants to protect him, he won't be able to. If he doesn't, it might be better. If he really does protect him, then Yu Wenrong will easily fall into his trap. The news sent over a few days ago already stated that other than Feng Changgong going to apologize to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo himself, no one can help him. Unfortunately, it is impossible for him to go over. When the time comes, I just hope that Li Linfu will be smart. Otherwise, once he is protected, he will not have a good time. What 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors? Is that something that others can casually talk about? Don't look at it as just a few words. Can kill. Now I understand. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo want to do something, just follow them. Don't oppose them. If you really want to oppose them, then do it through normal means. Any evil means is useless, and you will also get yourself into trouble. The 2 little guys will do this. Maybe they are waiting for others to do the same. Old Man Yao rubbed his hands until there were a lot of bubbles. While washing his hands, he looked in the direction of Xiankai County. Yes, Feng Changgong won't be able to escape. Other officials can't be too relaxed either. Xiao Bao asked someone to send a letter last time saying that there is a problem with the registrar of Xiankai County. He asked us to keep an eye on him, especially to find a way to convince the imperial court not to act rashly and alert the enemy. However, we still have to send capable people to keep an eye on him. Also, Li Sun's younger brother, Li Yu, also came 3 days ago. Isn't he now in Chongning County of Xiaizhou? What is he doing here? Is he short of money? Ask for some money from me? After washing his hands to his satisfaction, Old Man Pai wiped his hands and said, I don't think it's that simple. Maybe they are secretly discussing something. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo didn't mention it in the letter. We can ask them when they come back. As long as they are not thinking of joining forces to rebel, it's fine. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are coming back soon, right? Old Man Yao snatched the towel from Old Man Pai's hand and looked at Old Man Chong, who was still trying to insert the holes. He shook his head helplessly. Although Old Man Chong was inserting holes, his ears were not idle. He was still listening to the conversation between the two. When he heard Old Man Yao say that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were coming back, he immediately interrupted. When they come back, I must ask them why they didn't insert more holes in the honeycomb coal. Isn't it said that the more holes there are, the better the fire will be? If all the coal is blown into the fire, it will burn even better, Old Man Pai retorted. Just as the three old men were talking back and forth, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also entered the county. When the two people appeared, all the people who saw them revealed happy smiles. Whether it was the two people's abilities or the two people's appearance, they all made people feel comfortable. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't just pretend that they didn't see anything. As they walked, they returned the greetings of the people around them. From the entrance to the yamen, the journey that should have taken less than a quarter of an hour actually took them an hour to walk. Some people even gave Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan the eggs that they had just cooked and didn't have time to eat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't refuse. They took the eggs and rode on their horses, peeled the skin and ate it bite by bite. Even if it didn't have any saltiness, they ate happily. Not all officials could make the people give them eggs voluntarily. It had nothing to do with the price. Only those who were approved by the people could do it. This was also considered an honor. After an hour, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived at the entrance of the yamen, Wang Wan's bag was already full. Zhang Xiaobao also used his clothes to carry a lot of things. The two of them didn't stop eating. They walked and ate. The only thing they regretted was that they shouldn't have eaten in advance. They should have starved for 2 meals. Grandpa Bai, you haven't eaten yet, right? Let me peel a goose egg for you to eat. Wang Wan finally found someone who could help her. When they arrived at the entrance of the yamen, Old Man Pai and the other two people were playing mahjong next to the drum in front of the door. Recently, no one played the drum. They didn't need to care. This position was good. Could help to block the sun. If anyone was happy, they could beat the drum to express their feelings. The people seemed to be used to it. After the early cases were dealt with, there wasn't much to do in the county. Everyone was busy getting rich and didn't have time to do anything else. The thieves also found their own jobs. They were skilled workers. They were required to have nimble fingers. Wang Wan didn't jump down when she saw the three old men playing mahjong. At the same time, she knew that there wasn't much to do in the county. The yamen's entrance was still pasted with the pictures of the day. It let the people know how much they earned, how much they spent, and what they spent on. There was also a plan to spend money in the future. If the people didn't agree, they had to point out the drawbacks. It was best if they could come up with a better solution. Once the solution was accepted, they would receive a medal. In the future, they would be able to come to the county and give their opinions. Old Man Pai's forehead was full of sweat. Zhang Xiaobao watched from the side. He probably lost. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like this. Sure enough, Old Man Pai looked at the goose egg and said to Wang Wan, "Do you want me to die of saltiness? Have you ever seen a boiled goose's egg? It's all salty things that are pickled." Grandpa Bai, gambling is wrong. What's even more wrong is venting your anger on others when you lose the bet. Who said that goose eggs have to be salty? Mine is bland. As long as the people find it pleasing to the eye, they won't care about it. If you don't believe me, you can try it. As Wang Wan spoke, she knocked on the goose egg and opened it, revealing the inside. It was indeed bland. It was probably because when the news of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returning to the county spread, someone immediately ran home to boil the goose egg and gave it to them. If the goose egg wasn't salty, it wouldn't taste good. However, no one would say that this kind of goose egg was bad. Who didn't know that salty goose eggs were much more expensive than chicken and duck eggs? Looking at the goose egg in Wang Wan's hand, Old Man Pai said with jealousy, "I said that I'm a minister, and I'm from the Ministry of Revenue. In the end, no one said that they would give me something. This time you guys came back to welcome me. I'm sad. Xiaobao, come and help me win a few rounds to comfort me." Zhang Xiaobao didn't expect to encounter such a problem as soon as he returned. Looking at Old Man Pai's anticipation, then looking at Old Man Yao and Old Man Chang's warning eyes, he finally decided to make someone sad. Thus, he said to Old Man Pai, "Grandpa Bai, my stomach suddenly doesn't feel well. I'll talk about it later. I'll go in first. It's just that I haven't eaten goose eggs on the way. Grandpa Bai, you have to remember to eat. If you lose, then lose. Money is just a worldly possession. Cuckoo, let's go." "What money? We're playing stickers." I've already lost 20. I'm going to stick one on my face tonight. Zhang Xiaobao, who was leaving quickly with Wang Wan, heard the business behind him. His ears twitched and he forgot about it. 2 days later, Cui Riji still ran to the bow of the ship and sat there. He would only return to the cabin when it was time to eat and sleep. Otherwise he wouldn't stay there. It wasn't that it was uncomfortable to stay there, but because the wooden walls of the cabin weren't soundproof. When he wanted to say something to the advisor, he was always worried that someone would hear. Of course, the bow of the ship wasn't soundproof either, but he could see other places. If someone approached from behind, he could immediately change the topic to prevent others from hearing what he wanted to say. After leaving the capital, they traveled down the river at a very fast speed. However, it was impossible for them to reach Xiankai County in a short period of time. Unless they reached the shore now and rode a fast horse, they would have to take the military rest stop. Of course, that was impossible. Cui Riji also didn't want to reach Xinsai County now. Today, he also asked the advisor to sit at the bow of the ship. Seeing that there was no one around, he said, "What do you think of Li Linfu these 2 days? Can you make him one of our people?" The advisor had been carefully observing Li Linfu these 2 days. He wanted to learn more about him through his daily life. In the end, he found that Li Linfu seemed to be very kind to everyone. He always had a smile on his face and didn't get angry with anyone. Even if the advisor deliberately sent someone to say a few unpleasant words in front of Li Linfu still looked so amiable. If that was really the case, it would be a very good thing. However, the advisor was worried that Li Linfu was a person who looked one on the surface but was another person behind his back. This kind of person was actually the most terrifying. No one could know what he was thinking. Now, many people on the ship, including the boatmen, were very kind to Li Linfu. Even the ship's cook specially made some good food for him. Other people didn't have the opportunity to receive such benefits. He didn't know why the people on the ship of the Zhang family and Wang family had become like this. They had flattering smiles that made people feel disgusted, making people feel very uncomfortable. What? Can't you see it? Seeing that the advisor next to him didn't speak for a long time, Cui Riji asked again. At this time the advisor said, "I always feel that something is wrong. Logically speaking, a person with a good temper like Li Linfu's can't be promoted to his current position. Such a position can't be obtained by just anyone. Right now, many of the people on the ship have been bought over by him. He doesn't need to use money to buy people over, he just needs to lower his status and smile a bit more. Why don't you learn from him and win over the people on the ship first? That way, when you need them in the future, it will be more convenient." Cui Riji also thought so. He didn't understand. Logically speaking, Li Linfu, who should be very tough, should have been able to stabilize his position long ago. When the time came, he could have whatever he wanted. At least he didn't need to gather others to his place to discuss bad things. When he got there, it was time to use people. Now Li Linfu was not gathering people. He was not like himself, who would run to the bow of the ship, look at the running water, and bask in the sun. Instead, he hid in the house all day long. No one knew what he was thinking about. After hearing the advisor's words, Cui Riji thought about it and said, "If I ask him, do you think he will be willing to surrender to Gulai? After all, there is a lack of literati in that place, let alone enter Jixin courtyard. Give them a place to enter and let them fight for it. Don't you think it will deepen the conflict between them?" This was a very bold idea. When they were still on the ship, Cui Riji was ready to educate his people. It would be best if he didn't let more people participate. After dinner, he would call everyone to his side to show off his knowledge. He had already planned that as long as someone was willing to come and show off, he would get 20% of the income of an advertising tablet. It didn't sound like a lot, but if one really had the ability to get it, the reward for this position would definitely be a lot. However, there was also a range. He would not do this all the way to Xinsai County, which was the advertising tablet on the ship. The advisor actually wanted to persuade him again. He could tell that Cui Riji had never planned to give up on this matter. He wanted to pull Li Linfu to his side, but he didn't know the real situation yet. Now was not the time to make a decision easily. Fearing that Cui Riji would do something wrong, the advisor advised, "My lord, you're still too impatient now. It's better to wait until we reach the place and see what he will do. Otherwise, once he makes a mistake here, the one who will suffer will be you. Oh, that's fine. Then let's leave him alone for now. I will find time to talk to him and then make a decision. Cui Riji also knew that he couldn't speak rashly. If he really did, people would think that he was too easy to talk to, so they weren't afraid of him. Just as the two of them were talking about Li Linfu wandered out of the cabin like a ghost and stood in the same position as that day. He said to Cui Riji and Li Linfu, "What a coincidence, I just passed by here. I didn't expect to see you two again. Are you two idle?" Cui Riji thought that this was nonsense. If he wasn't free, why would he be busy? He looked at Li Linfu and replied surly, "To be honest, I really want to be free. Unfortunately, I can't. Even though we haven't arrived at Shinsai County yet, we still have to go there one day. If we don't know enough, it will easily make the people unhappy. Therefore, this official asked the people at home. If I could find out more about that place, it would be much more convenient for me to do things once I arrive there. Unfortunately, I was in too much of a hurry and forgot to bring a map. I can only think about it now and ask for more details after we get in the car." Of course, Cui Riji couldn't tell Li Linfu the purpose of his visit here. He casually found an excuse and prepared to make arrangements for the next step. He didn't expect Li Linfu to be so much more prepared than he was. After hearing his complaints, Li Linfu took out a piece of paper and handed it to Cui Riji. "Here is a map for playing games. I don't know if Master Cui would be able to use it. I think this map is pretty good. If we get to Xiankai County, I'll draw more maps if I have the chance. From there, I'll find a better way to develop that place." After hearing Li Linfu's words and looking at the game map he took out, as well as his peaceful appearance, Cui Riji suddenly had an indescribable feeling in his heart. There was admiration, appreciation, and vigilance. If he only looked at this person's expression, he would be very easy to talk to. Moreover, he was well prepared. If he worked under Cui Riji, it would be a very good situation. However, at the same time, it also made Cui Riji worried. Why did he think of bringing a map? Although the game map wasn't as good as the military map, it was still better than nothing. While Cui Riji was thinking, Li Linfu still had that peaceful smile on his face. He said to Cui Riji, "Sir Cui, I feel that the first thing we should do when we arrive there is to meet Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. We also can't leave Prince Tang behind. As for the local people, there is no need to worry. The people who have the final say over there aren't the county magistrate and registrar of Shinsai County. After discussing with Zhang Xiaobao and the other two, we will go together. If we can find out more about the situation over there from other people, it will be easier to investigate. To be honest, when I came out, the higher-ups told me to pretend that I didn't know anything and to protect someone if I could. However, on the way here I thought a lot. If I protect those who should be protected and those who shouldn't be protected, it will be a disaster. I also dislike officials who treat the people badly. Why don't we first meet Zhang Xiaobao and the other two when we arrive there and listen to what they have to say? Then we will ask the people and finally go to the yamen. If everyone treats Feng Changgong badly, Sir Cui, you will investigate in front and I will follow behind. I will not let any bad guys go, even if it means offending the higher-ups." When Li Linfu said this, he did not try to hide it from the others. Everyone on the ship heard it. They all looked at Li Linfu with a hint of respect. A good official. He clearly knew many things, but he did not do as he was told. Instead, he really thought for the people. A good official. Cui Riji was also stunned by Li Linfu's words. Li Linfu's words were too direct, and he didn't hide anything. He just stated what he was thinking and what he should do when he arrived there. From Cui Riji's point of view, Li Linfu's words were words of surrender. Li Linfu wanted to lean on his side. He really didn't know whether to rope him in now or continue to wait. He looked at his advisor. The advisor was also very confused. He carefully looked at Li Linfu, who was standing there with a sincere expression. He didn't find any treachery, so he nodded to Cui Riji and Wei Wei, got up and walked back first. Cui Riji understood that this was a tacit agreement formed before. Cui Riji wanted him to follow the words first, then find an excuse to go back to the cabin and continue the discussion. Thinking of this, Cui Riji said to Li Linfu, if Sir Li can really think like this, that's great. I also think that we can't just listen to one side of the story. Even if Commandery Prince Tong and said that Feng Changgong is bad, we still need to ask around before we can come to a conclusion. I will go back and write a plan. Then I will ask Sir Li for help. After saying this, Cui Riji had an excuse to leave and walked back to his cabin. Li Linfu seemed to agree. He said behind him, Sir Cui, you have worked hard. I actually have a plan here. Why don't we put it together later? Another person who used to be a county magistrate saw that the people on both sides had become friendly. He lowered his head and thought for a while. He said to himself, I don't think it's that simple. Seems that I have to think of something. Chapter 724. The sky was rosy, and the sun reflected the flowers. The dew was slightly cold, and occasionally a lone crow would fall from a tree. The fog from last night gradually dispersed in the morning, and a red sun like an egg yolk first covered the east with a beautiful veil. Then it jumped out on its own, and the clouds changed with the wind. If one stared at it for a long time, one would think that there was a group of ducklings standing in a neat row, following behind the mother duck. In Lhasa City it should have been a place where a slave master or a noble lived, but it had been changed into a place with rich rural scenery. A small river flowed through the large courtyard, and a wooden house sat on the opposite bank. A small bridge spanned over the river, and under the bridge, the water gurgled and ducks and geese mingled on the water surface. With a creak, the door of the wooden house was opened from the inside, and a girl with a pot in her hand walked out. She went to the stove outside, lit a fire, and began to boil medicine. As she boiled, she said, you said that my medical skills are not good? Let's see what you would do without me. A big man, you look strong, but you fall sick every 2 to 3 days. Me fan, wake up and cook. If you want me to cook every day, can't you just buy 2 people? Look at you two, one is sick and the other is taking care of you. He said that he was not acclimatized to the climate, and asked him to go back and find someone else, but he refused to leave. I'm the one doing all the work, Miss Jo, can't you just do it while you're at it? Before seeing anyone, Mi Fan heard the noise. She walked out of the house with a large lump of gunk in the corner of her eye. As soon as she walked out of the house, she shivered and went to another stove to collect dust and set up firewood. Jo Mei Lung looked at Mi Fan with dissatisfaction and complained, why do you have to do all the work? I have to manage the accounts every day. I have to sell chickens and ducks and I have to buy livestock. It's so cold in the morning and it's so hot at noon. If I stay here, I'll get old. That's right. It's not like we didn't know when we came. It's just that Brother Han is suffering and can't take it anymore. It's time to open the lottery today, right? We'll have to fork out a lot of money again. Also, it's time to collect the money from the entertainment venues for this half a month. You've contributed the most in this regard. Those people who came to cause trouble were all poisoned to death by you. Mi Fan set up the firewood, drew a fire from under Jo Mei's cold stove, lit it, and went back into the house to get things for breakfast. Wash your face first. Otherwise, you'll be the only one who's going to eat all the feces in the pot. Patient Han, are you awake? Squeak and I'll serve you. I've come so far, and I'll have to live a hard life with you. Jo Mei's hot and cold medicine was almost done. She said something to Han Xianfeng and Mi Fan, then put a cloth on the pot and prepared to send it into the room. Squeak! A short squeak came from the room. Jo Mei Lung looked up at the sky. I wonder if anyone can win the lottery today. I'll be back in a month. I won't come here anymore. I'll stay in Sanshui County. It's more comfortable there. When Jo Mei Lung poured the medicine into a bowl and brought it to Han Xianfeng was already dressed and leaning on the bed with a slightly yellow face. Sorry to trouble you again, Miss Jo. This is probably the altitude sickness that young Master Song repeatedly emphasized when he came here. I didn't expect that everyone else would be fine except for me. Fortunately, the red ginseng pills were sent from Wing Province. Otherwise, I would have really died here. Han Xianfeng said to Jo Mei Lung apologetically. Jo Mei Lung blew on the medicine and tasted it herself. When she felt that the temperature was about right, She brought it to Han Xianfeng and didn't let him drink it. She insisted on feeding him herself. I owed you in my previous life. It's too hard to live with you. Go back quickly and live a better life. Han Xianfeng didn't know what to say. In the past, he could always retort when Zhou Meilong said something like this. But now he couldn't say anything. He opened his mouth and drank the entire bowl of medicine, then ate the Danshan pill. He let Zhou Meilong put a blanket on him and closed his eyes to rest. The meal will be ready soon. Don't go out today. Stay at home. I'll give the money to someone else. After wiping Han Xuanfeng's mouth and checking his pulse, Zhou Meilong turned around and left the room. Han Xianfeng, who had nothing to do, just leaned on the bed and kept thinking. Ever since they were sent to take revenge on the economy, the three of them had rushed all the way from Idyll to Tubo. After some discussion, they decided not to stay anywhere else and directly went to Lhasa. It was an eye-opener. There were few commoners and many slaves. The whole of Tubo was a tribe made up of slaves. There were a few times when they were almost in danger. Thanks to Mi Fan's ability to make people speechless, they managed to escape. They sold the food they brought and built a place for entertainment. In fact, it was a place for brothels and gambling. They bought beautiful girls and taught them how to cheat. They added a lot of new gambling activities. They could cheat money and also bet things. They didn't know what young Master Song was thinking. He actually made the prettiest girls not accept the money directly to accompany others. Instead, he had to win the bet first. There was something wrong with this. But this method was very useful. More and more people came to gamble. With this kind of cheating method, the people who came lost more than one, but they still came like a flock of ducks. When they had more money, they bought a big courtyard here. It turned out that it was Tatata's courtyard. He was now living a good life in Tang. It was fate. Later on, they started to do public relations with the other local tribes and gradually stabilized. After the Spring Festival, they created a lottery. They earned more and more money, but there was a lot of trouble in the process. Fortunately, they had Mi Fan and Zhou Meilong's poison skills. Only then did they get rid of the source of trouble. Before they could continue to work hard, they fell sick. Only then did they know that the three of them were not fighting alone. The Zhang family also sent people. First, a very powerful local noble came to visit them. Then, all kinds of things were sent to them from Idyll. With the help of a big noble, things went smoothly. At the beginning of spring, they bought eggs from Pengzhou. Some of them were newly hatched eggs, some of them were eggs that could be hatched, and some of them were duck eggs and goose eggs. They began to teach the locals how to make a big stall. They were in charge of providing the goods, saying how good they were so that they could find people to prove it. As for the eggs, they sold them under publicity. They also sold a lot of chickens and ducks at a low price. They also taught others how to make poultry. They lied and said that the Tang emperor ate this and asked them to raise them. They also gave them the secret breeding method. They were really worried that the emperor would find out and arrest them. Impressive. Zhang Xiaobao's vengeance was no less than Wang Wan's. Who would have thought that a matter that could improve the lives of the common folk of Great Tang would turn into a vicious scheme just because of the addition of a secret breeding formula? No matter what kind of food was planted, there had to be a shelter between every 3 ridges. It could be a wooden board or a cloth curtain. Then, the bees and butterflies in this place would be caught, mashed, and mixed in the food according to the proportion. Then they would feed the poultry. It could only be done at the beginning of spring. It was said that the chickens and ducks raised in this way would be less troublesome and live longer after eating it. If one wanted to plant paddy fields, they would need to catch toad butts. This was the thing that the little tadpoles used to find their mother in the children's books in Sanshui County. If this wasn't enough to show how poisonous Zhang Xiaobao was, then one could tell from the soil in the newly opened egg transport truck from Pengzhou Pass that Zhang Xiaobao had actually ordered people to look for places where there were a lot of locusts last autumn, and then dig out a layer of soil from there. When they reached Tubo and were slightly further away from Great Tang, they would scatter the soil along the way. When they were almost done, they would send the final batch to Lhasa City and scatter it in the surrounding fields or dry areas. There were also some that were sent over from the desert. If number 1, who played tricks in Jianan Circuit back then, were to find out about this, he would probably regret it to death. Of all people to offend, he just had to find trouble with Zhang Xiaobao. Then, He would send the animals that he bought at a high price to Jiannan Circuit through another route. The good ones would be kept while the bad ones would be killed for meat. The price was very cheap, saying that it was a subsidy to the people. The price of the eggs was also very cheap. When he bought the eggs, he would use the money he earned to pay for it. It was called a foreign trade subsidy. It was said that when summer came, Jiannan Circuit would purchase poultry from Tubo. However, they would only sell it within Great Tang's borders. They would use food to exchange for it. As long as the poultry were sold, they would have to pay more taxes. This was used to balance the subsidies and prevent Tubo from dumping their poultry into Jiannan Circuit. In any case, he wasn't able to figure out the meaning of so many words. He just had to follow the instructions. What are you thinking about? Here, I've put the food here for you. You can eat it yourself. Mi Fan and I are going out to do something. After you eat, you can sleep for a while. We'll be back at noon. I reckon that Sonrigan will be here today. I'll leave the matter of discussing the transportation and price of the butter to you. Zhou Mei's cold voice interrupted Han Shuangfeng's mental activities. A bowl of milk with a layer of milk on it was placed in front of Han Xianfeng. There were also several fried eggs. Han Xianfeng could only eat this for breakfast and couldn't eat too much. At noon there would be butter cakes, and at night, there would be cakes baked with sesame oil. These had just been delivered the day before yesterday, from Lingnan Circuit to Pengzhou. Unlike the oil made from frying pepper, sesame oil was a good thing. Could strengthen one's body. There was very little of it. In order to ensure that Han Xianfeng could return alive, Zhou Mei quickly sent it all the way here. When he left, it would be sent by pigeon, and when he returned, it would be sent to a military post. Smelling the rich fragrance of the milk, Han Xianfeng nodded. Be careful outside. I know. You're the most dangerous one right now. Let's go. Zhou Mei left him with this sentence and followed Mi Fan out of the house. The ducks and geese outside, who had been playing in the water since morning, saw that their owner was about to cross the bridge and surrounded them. Go, continue playing. Someone will come to feed you later. Zhou Mei coaxed them a few times. As she walked across the bridge, she said to Mi Fan, you go to the entertainment center. I'll give them the prize. Come back early. I don't know why you want so much butter. I don't like it. It's too greasy. It's not for adults. The young master said that after we buy it back, we'll make cakes for the children in school. There's also cheese and yogurt. If we could transport fresh milk back, we would have bought it long ago. Mi Fan was still sleepy and yawned. Chapter 725. When Mi Fan and Zhou Meiling went to do their own things, Han Xianfeng finished his breakfast and began to think about how to trick people. After a while, the sound of poultry came from outside. Han Xianfeng knew that someone had come. He sat up straight and waited for the person to come in. Brother Han, I'm here. The goose you raise is not big, but it's so fierce. When the door opened, a Tubo man came in with a stick in his hand. He must have used it to drive the poultry away. You broke my goose. You have to pay for it. Han Xianfeng was very familiar with the person who came in. He had seen him both here and in Sanshui County. It was Sonri Nigan, the one who sold carrots. After he came here, he met him in the casino by chance. At that time, he just watched and didn't participate. The person he hired to watch the casino watched for a while. He felt that this person didn't look like someone who came to bet, so he reported it to him. Now that they met, it was like meeting an old friend in a foreign land. Since then, when he had nothing to do, Sonri would always come over and talk about how his chickens were doing and ask about the changes in Sanshui County. Since he got sick, he came here more often. He even asked someone to treat him, but it didn't work at all. If you want to talk about compensation, then I want you to compensate me. Originally, I was the only one who raised a lot of poultry. Now that everyone else is raising poultry, it's hard for me to sell them. I have to go to Sanshui County and ask someone. Senrignigan complained back, then carefully looked at Han Shuangfeng's complexion and said happily, you look like you're going to get better soon. You're so lucky. In the past, the slaves they caught from Tang and the Tang people who came here by trade didn't survive once they got sick. Of course. Who do you think I am? When I get better, I'll be able to soar into the sky. Han Xianfeng also knew that his illness was not that serious. He asked Sanri Nigan to sit down and bragged. I heard that it has nothing to do with you. The Zhang family mobilized a lot of good things for you. They even sent a doctor to hide somewhere. Others may not know, but you can't fool me. Sanri Nigan said enviously. He was happy for Han Xianfeng from the bottom of his heart. He found a good family to rely on. Although he had a lot of slaves here, not many people were willing to help him when he was in trouble, let alone spend a lot of money after he got sick. Han Xianfeng smiled and didn't refute. Instead he asked, how are the poultry you're raising? Why don't you sell it quickly? Otherwise it will be troublesome when the time comes. How's the field? Han Xianfeng knew that even though Sanri Nigan was from Tubo, he didn't care about Tubo. He was just a small slave owner here. In the past he was often ostracized by others. It was only now that things were better so he could talk to him more. As soon as Sanri Nigan heard Han Xianfeng ask about his family, a worried expression appeared on his face. What Han Xianfeng said was right. Ever since many people started to buy chickens and ducks to raise, the people around him who had a good relationship with him started to have their own ideas about him again. 2 large food stalls appeared in the city. Although they only sold hairy eggs and chestnut eggs, they also had a big impact on their own business. Those who wanted to sell chicken and eggs were not as enthusiastic as before. Their income suddenly decreased by a lot. But what could he do? He couldn't not let others raise his chickens. He only hoped that the people sent by Sanshui County could think of a new way to make money for him. I've already made century eggs according to the method you taught me. I'm going to sell them after a while. Century eggs with tofu are very delicious, and you don't have to worry about them spoiling. They can be eaten outside. Think of a way to send me more salt. I'll make some salted eggs. Sanri Nigan had a total of 2 methods, which was to make century eggs and salted eggs. At the same time he also knew what Han Xianfeng and the other 2 wanted to do, but he didn't want to tell others. The good or bad of others had nothing to do with him. Moreover, even if he found others and told them that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were coming for revenge, they might not believe him. Now that Lhasa City was forbidden to talk about these 2 people, even if they believed him, the credit wouldn't fall on him. Who let him have so few slaves and a small territory? Han Xianfeng thought for a while and replied to Sanri Nigan, we can't send too much salt now. The Jianan circuit is too strict. When autumn comes it should be enough. If you have a lot of eggs, give them to your slaves to eat. Only when they eat well can they have the strength to work. They are eating. Other slaves only have 1 meal a day. No matter what they eat, as long as they can fill their stomachs, it's fine. My slaves have 2 meals a day. If they still have to work at night, I will add a midnight snack. I have a lot of children, so each of them has 2 fried eggs a day. It's much better than other slaves. But I have a lot of them, so no matter how much they eat, they can't finish it. After a while, I will have to kill some chickens for them to eat. They are already old and can't lay eggs, so I can only eat them. I also made a lot of dried chickens, but I can't sell them. Why don't you help me buy some of them? The price can be cheaper. Sanri Nigan sat down and felt that his mouth was dry. He didn't need to trouble Han Xianfeng and started looking for tea leaves in the house. He even went to the kitchen to get a pot of water and washed it with a big bowl while complaining. He wasn't wrong. The slaves in his house definitely ate better than other people's slaves, and even better than most of the commoners. In the beginning there were more than 300 slaves working for him, but now there were nearly 1,000 people. Some of them were willing commoners in the past few years, and some of them were the children of the slaves. So now there were a lot of children waiting for them to grow up to work. They had to be well taken care of when they were young and cultivate their loyalty. Sanri Nigan could do this because he learned from the 2 Zhuangzi families of Sanshui County, Zhang Li and Wang Zhuangzi. There were so many farmers, and in fact there was no difference between them and slaves. But when they worked, their enthusiasm was not comparable to ordinary slaves. Later, after observation and understanding, he found that treating the slaves well seemed to be spending more money, but it was very worry-free. The bodies of the slaves were strong, and they were not easy to get sick. They also had strength when they worked, and their loyalty was also improved. One slave could do the work of 2 others, and 2 slaves could do the work of 5 others. After calculating the investment and output ratio, it was still more cost-effective to raise the slaves stronger, especially when they were not completely farming. There were also other breeding industries, so the slaves were very useful. It was precisely because of this consideration that Sanri Nigan began to treat the slaves well. He did not let the slaves starve. At least, he gave them highland barley to eat, and meat to eat every few days. Every child under the age of 12 was given eggs. When the slaves were full, they could work better. In addition to raising poultry, he also raised a lot of cattle and sheep, which were all fed by the slaves. He did not have to worry about the slaves suddenly defecting. As long as the slaves wanted to escape alone, it was easy to get into trouble. But if he talked to others to escape together, they would report it. With more money, Sanri Nigan also bought a lot of weapons to arm his slaves to fight against the people who were jealous of him. Now, when Sanri Nigan saw that his team was increasing, he finally approved of the practice of treating the slaves better. After drinking a bowl of tea, seeing that Han Xianfeng still did not agree, Sanri Nigan said, "Can't you sell dried chickens?" "Yes, but it's useless. Let me tell you, the customs tax is going to be raised soon. Plus the transportation fee, you can't make any money. If I let you transport the chickens, won't it harm you? How about this, you sell the poultry as soon as possible, and only keep the food for yourself. The Zhang family is going to buy a lot of dairy products, milk, chips, cheese, butter, and a lot. As long as you have them, you don't have to worry about not being able to sell them. The price is not low, and you don't have to pay taxes. Follow the name of the Chamber of Commerce there. This is called smuggling. You have to hurry lest you regret it later." After hearing Han Xuanfeng's words, Sanri Nigan poured water for himself again and asked worriedly, "Is it going to be a fight?" Zhang Xiaobao came first to fight an economic war. And then Wang Wan came with the army? Then what should I do? I have always been on good terms with you. It was no wonder that Sanri Nigan was afraid. Now, even if they did not allow people to mention Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they could not stop people from talking about them in private. It was because the people in Tubo did not allow others to talk about them, which made the 2 of them even more highly. It was as if the 2 of them were to fight. The whole of Tubo would be finished. "What are you thinking about? Fight? With what?" The young master and the young lady went back to be officials. 2 ninth-rank officials with no military power. Han Xianfeng felt that Sanri Nigan was a little suspicious. Sanri Nigan waved his hand and said, "Don't lie to me. It's easy to not have military power. You give it away just like that." "Tell me, what do you want to do? If it really doesn't work, I will move away to Idyll. If you really don't want to fight, then see if you can get food while you still have money. Save it up and use it. When autumn comes, there will be a shortage of food. Don't let so many of your slaves starve. Do you have 3 rows of wooden planks and rags to separate the land in your house?" Han Xianfeng assured him again that they would not fight, but he also revealed some information. Sanri Nigan shook his head and said, "No, it's too troublesome. My poultry is not as good as your emperor's. Now that other people's chickens are still young, I can sell them. When their chickens and ducks grow up, I will think of other ways. You said not to raise them, so I will listen to you and start buying in large quantities. Then I will raise more cows and sheep and harvest more food. I see that the food this year is growing well. There will be a big harvest in autumn. Won't I lose money if I buy more food? If I lose money, I will go to Sanshui County and ask your master. I will say that you lied to me." Big harvest? Dream on. This year, Tubo still has to trade for food from Tang. I suddenly thought of something. You also have land, right? Han Xianfeng looked at Sanri Nigan and asked, "Nonsense, how can I not have land? I even planted a lot of barley and 200 mu of rice. Why? Can I earn money from the land?" Sanri Nigan was a small landowner. He had more than 1,000 slaves. How could he survive without land? Then sell it quickly. Don't plant it anymore. If you sell it now, you can get a good price. Didn't you already plant something? Sell it, don't delay. When the time comes, change it all into local specialties. Also sell your house. Bring your slaves to the east of Jinchuan, the west of Tang, and feed them well. After Han Xianfeng gave the idea, He remembered that locusts had wings and could jump. They would not just stay in one place. If things went wrong, Tang might have to prepare to exterminate the locusts. If Sonri Nigan farmed here, he would lose everything. In the first few years there was a plague of locusts in Tang. The higher-ups spent a lot of effort to exterminate them. Now Tubo was in trouble. When the locals saw so many locusts, they would kowtow and offer incense. By the time they realized that the locusts were gone, it would be too late to send an army of livestock. Sonri Nigan did not know the specific situation. When he saw Han Xianfeng asking him to sell his land, he looked at Han Xianfeng carefully. Do you have a grudge against me? If the land is gone, what do you want me to do? If the land is gone, you can buy it back. But if the harvest fails this year, or if the harvest is reduced by half, not half. Even if the harvest is reduced by 20%, it will be over. If the weather is bad again, this year will probably be worse than last year. Listen to me, I won't lie to you. Han Xianfeng knew that he could not say too much to Sonri Nigan. How do you know that the harvest will fail this year? Sonri Nigan had to understand. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a hunter called Halabu. One day he went hunting and saved so he could understand the language of the wild beasts. In the end, he turned into a stone man. Han Xianfeng could not say that Zhang Xiaobao had used a desperate measure here. He could only choose to let Sonri Nigan believe him. After hearing this, Sonri Nigan sighed. So you are that Halabu? Do I really have to sell it? Or else I will suffer a huge loss. Sell. You helped the Zhang family transport a lot of good things here. All kinds of spices and things that Tang does not have. You gave the Zhang family a lot of benefits. Even if you don't make money by moving to another place, the Zhang family will not let you suffer a loss. That's all I have to say. Don't say that I didn't tell you when you don't hear it. Han Xianfeng said seriously to Sonri Nigan. Sonri Nigan's expression turned serious. He nodded. Okay, this time I will believe you. I won't let you turn into a stone man. I will sell it when I get back. When I go back, I will buy other animals and raise them along the way. I will go to the east of Jinchuan. If I don't move there, I will be worried that people will find trouble with me. The sky is cloudy and looks like it is going to rain. I thought that it would rain at night. Brother Han, you will feel uncomfortable again. Do you want to eat something? It's okay. I am much better today. I will drink some sugar water mixed with alkali and vinegar later. I will be fine. If you have something to do, go quickly. Don't worry about me. Han Xianfeng also realized that the weather had changed. The weather should have been getting hotter, but now it was a little cold. Sonri Nigan knew that even if he did not stay, someone would come to take care of Han Xianfeng. Thinking about selling the land, he helped Han Xianfeng pick up the bowls and then left the house. Outside, the chickens were running around in the open space. The slaves bought to feed them called out to them and led them to the shed in case they fell ill. Mi Fan had already collected half a month's worth of money and had people transport it back. There were all kinds of things in the cart. There were copper coins from Tang, local coins, silver, gold, and even jade. When the gamblers were out of money and jealous, they would take out whatever they had to pawn. Whenever they pawned something valuable or memorable, they would ask people to remember the name and place of the owner. If the owner's family was capable, they would have to take the initiative to return the pawned item. For example, the jade pendant that had been passed down for hundreds of years would be troublesome to keep. Zhou Meiling had not started the lottery yet. She was waiting for the others to arrive in the restaurant she bought. It only started when it was almost noon. The restaurant had already prepared food and wine. At this time, regardless of whether one won or not, whether one was happy or sad, one would usually need strong alcohol to comfort oneself. The items for the lottery were put away. The people who came early drank butter tea or milk tea, while eating snacks while waiting for others to hurry up. They all hoped that they could win at least once. In fact, it was fine even if they did not come. There were too many people buying lottery tickets, and the restaurant could not accommodate all of them. They just came to be witnesses. When the time came, the lottery would post the winning numbers and let others know. While Tubo and Han Xianfeng were busy with the plan, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already returned to Luoyang. They saw their family followed by Xiaobei and the rest of the kids. They wanted to leave their brothers and sisters, as well as their parents. In Baoxing County, He Yiwei had many things to do. Suddenly, 2 people were missing. One was missing, and for such a long time a lot of work was on him. Fortunately, during this time, the people in the county did not have many complaints to complain about, otherwise he would have to solve cases. Today, he once again posted the revenue and expenditure of the county to the entrance of the yamen, explaining the current situation to the people. After he finished talking about the financial matters, the people were preparing to leave. He said, "Don't go yet. There's one more thing. Right now there's a place where the scenery of the Tang dynasty is placed. Soon there will be a place from another place that will come. This official feels that the roads in the county are not good enough. In some places, even if the people nearby help to fix them, it is still very inconvenient for the carriage to travel. This official is prepared to take out 1,000 strings of coins to widen the narrow roads. What do you all think?" If it was in the past, he would use it if he wanted to. There was no need to discuss with others. Now he could not. He had to let the people know about the benefits and disadvantages of spending money, even if it was just a small portion of the people. As long as the majority of the people who knew about it agreed, then it could be implemented. If the majority did not agree, then he had to do some thinking, which was very tiring. Not only was He Yiwei tired, but the other officials in the county also had to work. Hearing that He Yiwei was going to take out 1,000 strings of cash, the people looked at each other and hesitated whether to agree. It was not a lot, only 1,000 strings of cash. County Magistrate this old man wants to ask, do Registrar Zhang and County Deputy Wang know about this? An old man stood out from the crowd and asked He Yiwei, who was waiting for the people to answer. They don't know. I thought of it myself. He Yiwei really wanted to do something by himself. He could not always listen to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He was already an adult. Why couldn't he be a county magistrate and be a county magistrate? It was not like before, when he wanted to be greedy and wanted to take advantage of others. He was also thinking for the sake of Buxin County. In the end, if he first mentioned this matter to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and the 2 of them agreed, then the people would also agree. If the 2 of them said that they would think about it, then the people would not agree. Looking at the old man who asked, He Yiwei could not lie. He had no choice but to tell the old man the truth. In his heart he was thinking that it was over. His proposal would probably be rejected. As a county magistrate, sometimes he was happy, sometimes he was depressed. He did not know what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were thinking. How could they let the people decide? What did the people know? If they did not know, why did they have to explain it to them? So it was county magistrate his idea. I don't know about other things, but I agree with building roads. In the future, when it becomes more prosperous, there will be more people coming and going. We also need to divert a river. When the time comes, there will be more merchants and rich people. If the roads are narrow, it will delay things. Just when He Yiwei thought that his idea would not be approved, the old man who asked the question agreed. The young man standing beside the old man also said, I think it should be built. In fact, we don't need 1,000 strings of coins. Everyone find some stones and transport them over. We just need to find the place where the roads are to be built. There is no need to pay. After the spring plowing, there will be many idle people. With 2 people agreeing, the other knowledgeable people also agreed. They unanimously said that they should first take out 1,000 strings of coins. Everyone should try to think of ways to save money. When the time came, they should not spend all the money. After saving the money, they could still do other things for the county. When He Yiwei, who was originally feeling very sad, heard everyone's words of support, his eyes suddenly lit up. He nodded vigorously and said, Then let's do as everyone says. I'll take out 1,000 strings of coins first. When the time comes, I'll take out as much as I need. Even if I don't get paid, I still need to prepare meals. I'll arrange it now. After saying that, the happy He Yiwei rushed back to the yamen to check the map. He planned on listing the various places that needed to be fixed. Old Man Pai and company did not go to Luoyang with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The 2 of them would be returning in a few days, so there was no need for them to go back and forth. When they saw that He Yiwei's suggestion had received the support of the people, they also revealed knowing smiles. I was really worried that He Yiwei would fail this time. If that happened, he would lose confidence in doing things in the future. I never expected that he would actually receive support. Old Man Chong was also very happy as he said from the side. Old Man Bai, on the other hand, was staring at the dispersing crowd. Among them, there was an old man and a young man who had spoken earlier. The two of them were walking together, whispering something to each other. At this moment, Old Man Yao spoke. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.